Nelson here. 372 pages we'll never get back, along with Connor Listoka. Good day, Connor.
Good day, Mike. Good holiday. Good Christmas. Good coziness to you.
Yeah, coming right up to it. It is because we are doing a cozy book. This is our final reading of The Quilting Cruise by the Devlin sisters.
Yes.
The Devlin went down to Georgia, Cruise. Right? Yes. Yeah,
the Devlins went down to Georgia, and the devil is in the details because I have not been able to remember the damn name of the book every single time I've typed it as Quilter's Cruise.
Well, here's very frustrating for me is, I use the Windows key and just the index thing to just look things up because I'm a keyboard guy. I memorize the keyboard things.
Oh, hell yeah.
Even for Gmail. It just faster.
Alto 151 for an M-dash, yeah.
Exactly.
Snipping tool
like crazy. Anyway, I bring up the Quilting Cruise, and it shows me everything but the document that I have to read. Very frustrating. And then when I open it, it's called The Quilting Cruise. So that's the only reason I now know it is because.
What do you mean it's showing you everything else? It's showing you actual.
It's showing me all of our audio. It'll show us, and then it'll go to the web, and it'll say, "You want to take a quilting cruise?" I'm like, "I'm not asking. It's on my computer."
I've signed you up for a quilting cruise. Yes. I'm Rufus.
Done and done, sir. You are signed up and booked, and we already debited your card.
Hope it goes better than the other guy that took a quilting cruise in this book.
Yes. So anyway, we're in the middle of a snowstorm here I'm in Minnesota. So it's, it's cozy. There was,
nice.
There was little rabbit footprints up up our walk, and a rabbit came and kind of looked in our window, and that was about it. So I think that's pretty damn cozy.
Yeah, I think that happened to Cinnamon in Christmas River. The rabbit came and she laid out a pie for him, and a bird helped braid her hair that morning. And then there was a gangland murder on your back porch to just really cap the coziness off, like a marshmallow on your hot chocolate. That's how this book interpreted cozy.
Looked out my window, and there was a guy in a knit scarf, kneeling, begging for his life as someone put two right in the back of his head, double tapped him and took off, cut the labels out of his coat so no one could identify even where he was from, and then just left.
The last thing you see as you're peeking out your window with your steaming mug of cocoa is him, pulling a big saw out of his trunk, and that's when you close it and turn back around, and Vince Guaraldi starts playing on your record player.
Wow, yeah, that's the cozy verse as we know it, at least in this thing. So, quite a surprise for our final reading.
It is, and I think that surprising is a good way to put it because if you're not reading along, the book went in a way I did not expect, and we're going to find ways to tip our cap to it that are small here, but not a ending that I saw coming. Is it a good ending? I think we can all agree that it's not really, but again, if you called it, that's great for you because it's not something that I predicted.
I also want to say, I don't think this is spoiling anything because it's a different book. They reference at the end author's note, right? And then it's like, hey, remember at the end of the previous book when we set up this giant thing? Yeah, we didn't feel like doing that. It's like if you got to the end of Moby Dick or something, and it was like, sorry we set it up with a whale thing, and then we turned it into a gentle rom-com. Sorry about that. We just didn't feel like it.
Yeah. Sorry, our accountant said if we wanted to write off our cruise, we had to get this book out by the end of the year. So we'll deal with her long lost sister, was it, I think, by the end of the
a sister, and I think then the baby is referenced as well.
It says let's just read it. If you're wondering what happened to the appearance of Miranda's supposed sister in the epilogue at the end of The Quilting Queen, don't be concerned. That situation is still developing, but we decided Miranda deserved a vacation first. The baby quilt is still in the works. So it's a soap opera, I guess, type of thing where a season ends, and then if they just pick it back up, but they're like, ooh, the actor who was supposed to be portraying the sister, we couldn't work out her contract, so let's just pretend that never happened.
I just think you might have put that at the beginning if people were expecting.
If you were
like, keep reading and keep paging forward, like there's not much of this book left. When does the baby quilt get mentioned? Yeah, we're not going to mention that.
Hilarious that a long lost sister is the thing that you might be concerned about when, just to get ahead of it, a long lost sister is also a major plot point at the end of this one. But there's only so many Hallmark tropes. There's only so many soap opera tropes. So no one was buried alive in this one. But
true.
I hope that will manifest itself someday in a cozy mystery.
Yes, evil twins and all of that. All right, so let's get into it. Do you want to bring us up to date on the plot so far?
Yeah, the plot. We're in chapter 18. It's cruise day 6, more water. And so far we've gone to the Bahamas and to, I don't know, I think they've gotten off the ship twice.
Aruba,
Jamaica.
Kokomo.
The Quilting Guild #1 of Cutler, Pennsylvania, 6 of them are on this cruise together, and there has been a dark figure has entered the picture who is married to one of the quilt instructors. Lori is her name. She is sort of doing the woman from a abusive relationship. She's, saying like, I can't talk about this now, and so they have quickly intuited that she's being forced into some illegal activity by her dark husband. And they
Mike Lambert, is that his name?
Mike Lambert.
Yeah, he's the one. He's like, look, doll, we're in this for the whole thing. Got it? Oh, but Mike, please. That's what they hear in the hallway, stuff like that, which they don't respond to. They go to sleep.
Yeah, they go
please
to sleep.
Stop doing that painful thing to me that you're doing up against the door.
Keep it the hell down out there.
Listen, doll, you're in this for the whole ride.
Yeah, he's got a fedora sort of tipped over half of his face, and he looks like the guy on the neighborhood watch signs logo, essentially, is what I've intuited from here. The big collar. Mike is putting hundreds and hundreds of dollars into the high-stakes slot machines, immediately cashing them out, and the quilters intuit that he is laundering money. It turned out it was for the Cuban Mafia, we learn, because the Cuban Mafia, when they report this to Gabe, who has FBI connections in Miami, they immediately discover that the Cuban Mafia has a mole inside their office who had been reporting this back to Mike. So everyone is always one step ahead of everyone else.
And the Cuban Mafia, they do it through, they're smuggling through sewing machines. This money, correct? Is what we're told by. There's also another FBI agent on the cruise.
A brunette woman who does have a name, but she was initially identified as the brunette woman. She showed up because Mike Lambert is not just threatening his wife. He's coming up to Miranda on the beach and being like, listen, doll, stop putting on that SPF 50 because I got a little ring-a-ding-ding for you. You're going to take a swim with the fishes if you don't stop looking into my gambling. And there's a FBI woman who comes and sits down next to him.
Janet Lowry.
Okay, Janet Lowry.
She leaves a card. She has a card. Special Agent Janet Lowry, Federal Bureau of Investigation.
So rather than do anything like arrest this guy now, they're going to wait for him to take the hollowed out sewing machine that his wife Lori has to smuggle the money through customs. They're going to arrest him as they go through, even though he has, explicitly threatened people on this boat, and they've got evidence that he is receiving tip-offs from his mole in the FBI at the behest of the Cuban Mafia. So yes. I guess you don't technically have him committing a crime until he's smuggled the money through customs. I don't know. They threw around international waters as if that's why they can't do any of this.
International waters is pretty specific, right? I think you're, well, anyway. Somebody might know that, but
it almost certainly is. But if you're, you could also fly the maritime flag above your house to deem your sovereign citizenship. I don't know. It all works in fiction.
Yes. So anyway, that's where we are. And she Miranda, our hero, and the quilting crew, the Cutler Quilting Crew #1 or whatever, are going to be tasked by Janet Lowry, FBI, Miami, Florida, to keep an eye on this. Keep an eye on this Mike Lambert character. You got it, but keep your distance. You see. So they're going to watch him, and they're all in on this. Even who's the shy one?
I was going to see if you could name them all, but
I can't name them. No, I know that they breakfast a lot. They snack quite a bit.
It's like Colby, maybe. It's
Shelby.
Shelby. Okay, she's the younger one who's the shy one, but
she's the one who I guessed would be hacked to death in a janitor's closet, like Gangs of London style.
Don't go in there. I told you not to look in there.
Oh, I'm a seasoned agent, and still even I can't look at it.
Yes. Well, so this is the start of their day on cruise day 6, more water, which I think they reveal is the final day of the cruise, which came as a shock to me once I realized how much more there was to go through it. There was only being one day left.
Yeah, I wondered, are we going to another location now once the cruise is over? But no, the cruise is the location, and we're getting to the end of it pretty quickly here.
Yeah.
And like I think someone pointed out, not a lot of quilting. Well, buddy, we've got you covered.
Yeah, it starts off by sort of rattling down the schedule of what their choices were for the demos today. And it read to me like an Encyclopedia Brown mystery almost.
I have them if you want to put down on your own schedule here, if you are going to take a quilting cruise.
Okay, I
assume all of our listeners are going to. Quilt as you go! I hope that I conveyed the exclamation point there.
Yeah, the hardest working exclamation mark in history.
That was Jennifer Myers.
Okay.
And this is my favorite, which I read wrongly for at least 3 times. It's English Paper Piecing by Alison Hopewell. I kept saying piercing.
Piercing, yeah, I did too. I just inserted that.
It's piecing. Small Quilted Presents. I assume, not Small Quilted Presents.
Quilted Presents, Virginia Hamilton.
That's Ginny Hamilton. And then 5 p.m., so that's a long one. That's 3 hours. Unless you get a break. You get the snack break in between. I'm sorry. It's not listed there. Circles in Quilting, and that's Lori, yes. our damsel in distress.
Yes, and Ginny is the one who sort of tipped the quilters off. She's like, I think something's up with Lori. Or maybe she was the one who Miranda solved a murder at her convention before. She's like a real big shot in the quilting world.
And she said, hey, it's you. Could you please help me out on this thing? So that's what they're doing.
So Miranda's scheduled. She's going to attend English Paper Piercing. Damn it.
Please.
Damn it. The quilters are going to have me off next, Gangland style. And then she's going to go to the Small Quilted Presents. And so she says, I'd be tied up basically from 12:30 to 3 with time maybe for a quick snack in between. So you really get the sense that she's working around the clock to protect Lori Lambert from her sinister husband who has threatened her directly.
But somehow it says that the presents thing is it would motivate me when I got home to start my Christmas projects. So that's the presents thing. English Paper Piecing has nothing to do with Christmas, right?
Yeah, correct.
Okay, we get more, and don't worry, folks. English Paper Piecing is explained to us in great detail. So,
but if you thought Miranda's day was a little lacking on the mystery solving, Dee says, to be honest, I'm not very motivated today. Maybe I'll just walk around the ship a bit and then find a deck chair. So Lori is, being just tied up. Her husband has, got a gun to her, and Dee is like, I don't know. I'm really over this cruise. I'm just going to sleep until it's done.
Stop your squawking, babe. Listen, I hope the people that are finding me aren't snacking and walking around the deck. No, they're on you like bloodhounds. That's why I'm one step ahead of them, babe. During the wandering, this legitimately confused me for a few seconds. I wonder if it confused other people.
Okay.
We walked around the shops, stopped for a coffee, found a large hot tub that was actually empty, and raced back to our room to change, and then hurried back and jumped in to the empty hot tub.
It didn't confuse me in the moment, but I understand your confusion having reread it again closer.
I don't know, empty? Unoccupied? It's not that hard, right?
There you go. I do have an empty hot tub story if we have a second.
We do for an empty hot tub story, we do, certainly.
It was at a friend's wedding, and we had been sort of tricked into renting a large house for a bunch of people to stay in, because it was in the middle of Northern California. There wasn't a hotel or anything, and then they had the after party at the house we had rented. And at some point in time, there was it was like people who you didn't know the bride's friends very well, the groom's friends didn't, so competing factions there, and the groom's friends had all rented this house. And at some point in time, two of the guys had like one of the master bedrooms. They went, 1 in the morning. They drew up a hot tub. They filled up the hot tub in their room, one of those like large jacuzzis in the ground. They went off, like probably poured themselves a fancy cocktail, got their towels, said if anyone else wanted to join them. They came to 45 minutes later find their hot bath filled up, and some of the bride's friends had drained the tub, brought in the towels from their room to sit on them, and were chanting "dry tub, dry tub, dry tub." And these guys walked into their own room that they had paid for to find these people who they didn't know and didn't care for sitting on towels in their thing, mocking through their faces. So that would have been great if that's what happened to Miranda. They found Mike Lambert sitting in their empty hot tub chanting "dry tub."
See, what I thought the direction it was going to go is one of the guys put on one of those striped wool one-piece bathing suits, and then got to the edge of the thing and did one of those, bow-legged dives, and was like, "There's no water in here."
Yes, and we took him to the hospital because he broke his neck doing an old-timey dive.
Wow. Okay, so the empty hot tub. Now I know what it means.
Yes. Not a dry tub, just devoid of other weirdos on the ship.
Understand. There's a word for that. Anyway, Allison came out with an armload of materials and gave us a smile. "Good morning. I admire your bravery. We who are about to..." and all that. Laughter ensued. Why are we trying to write jokes? Why do we even bother?
I don't know. We can half quote. Is that a gladiator? Is that what they have from that? Like,
I guess.
But we're about to die, salute you? Is that what the end of that quote she didn't complete is?
I assume that's what it means, and that's, I guess, everyone knows, like, well, it is English paper piecing. We are going to die.
Especially laughter ensues as, oh, hey, is that woman that we're supposed to be protecting dead? Huh? I don't know. Let's piece some paper. Wow. Yeah. So this is none of the quilters we wrote in who sent us pictures of their quilts wrote in to say like, yeah, English paper piecing is the big daddy of all these techniques. But the way that they describe it here, it certainly makes you think it is something rarefied turf in the quilting world, because it's like the teacher is Allison being like, "So how many of you think you can do this?" "Well, you're wrong, you slobbering dogs. You can do it this way."
It's very funny. It is like, what is English? She makes it sound like you get that squirrel suit on, and we're going to dive off the face of this sheer cliff, and we're going to go through the eye of that needle, and most of you aren't going to survive. We get it. We're in for this. Yes, Captain, my captain. Here we go. And then she pulls out something. Oh, she pulls out the pieces, and she's like, "It's not that bad." And then she wets one. Causing audible gasps. But admittedly, it wasn't full, this demonstration, because, I mean, again, this is like, who wants to go through like Navy survival camp, right? Who wants to sit in the cold surf for 24 hours until with someone screaming in your face, "Do you want to give up? Or do you want an English paper piece, maggot?" I'll piece the paper.
It does sound like drill sergeant talk, being like, "Well, you can sit at home with your thumb up your ear and do some English paper piecing, or you can be a man and run through this obstacle course right now. What are you going to do, Private?" "I'm an English paper piece."
Texas, only 2 things. I didn't say anything about Texas. But then she says, "Now the tricky part. First, let me say that using copy or print paper is not a good idea. So the person, everyone goes, puts their copy paper quietly back into their quilting bag. She held up what looked like stiff interfacing fabric. I guess I read that one wrong.
It's
too.
a leave-in stabilizer.
A leave-in stabilizer.
That's what she says. Now, here's another option. She poured water bottle into a small bowl and took the hexagon she had just made and dunked it. A small chorus of gasps escaped our group. I mean, I assume there had to be a doctor will be on hand in case of fainting during the English paper piecing demonstration.
Yeah, I assume it was like, Frederick Treves unveiling the Elephant Man. He's behind the curtain, with the lamp, and then whoosh,
Rites of Spring riots at the dunking of the leave-in stabilizer.
Yes. So she finishes on English paper piecing. She got a brisk round of applause, and, as it happened before, a small group surrounded her when she finished.
Oh, maybe it is like Rites of Spring. They're going to tear her to pieces, like they just want a piece of her clothing or something. Like
it's either that, or are they going to? They're either going to like garrote her and hang her up in the town square, and then take shots at her for 4 days. People come up and stab her body, or they're going to lift her above their heads and parade her around the ship for, I assume, a good 8 hours.
Bow down before your new paper piecing god.
Yes.
Well as that demonstration goes, they go to the next one, which is led by Ginny Hamilton. And as soon as she took her place behind the table at front, it was clear that something was wrong. She simply didn't look well. And I mean, I was just thinking it's the first onset of the cruise ship sickness, the norovirus. She's just been wrecking the can all day, but she's still as dedicated to the art of, I forget what this is. Is this red work or something? No, this is
candy rings.
This is tiny presents, I think, or
tiny
seasonal presents.
Yes. Yeah.
Here's a good look at what Ginny is doing, despite her ashen pallor.
She's like mopping the sweat off of her face, like, I'm not going to make this.
If I do, please leave my candy rings to someone else.
You can see her bloody sock as she pitches.
I realized she was running through the steps to make tote bags out of charm packs, which I had seen before but never done, and giving a few tips on making pot holders look more professional. She whipped up a drawstring gift sack like it was easy, so I was impressed. She finished up by showing us a lovely pillow made from what is called a candy ring, 4-pieced curves which together form a circle. She had appliqued a Christmas ring onto a white background and added a red bow. So this is just a master, like you said, the Kurt Schilling game, doing all of this despite her infirmaries. Yeah, you imagine at the end is just going to be like one of those musicians who did their final bow and just topples over dead on stage.
Yeah, it's it's in front of Salieri. It's Mozart doing the "Did you try this?" And just playing it upside down and doing a fugue on the fly and everything, and just everyone going, "Oh my God, we're seeing something quite
Salieri
new."
looks at his own unprofessional pot holders and just his hand quakes as he rends them.
He had copy paper in his bag. He's like, son of a.
Too many drawstrings on your gift sack.
What is, by the way, I thought that was nuts as well, but what is a charm? Where is it?
A charm pack? She turned a charm pack into a tote bag.
What is a charm pack?
It just reminds me of Homer Simpson has carved his chili tasting spoon out of a bigger spoon.
Okay.
Well, that was already a charm pack, and you just turned it into a tote bag? I mean, what are you going to tote around? Charms? Sure. Okay.
That's an act apparently of magic. That is like alchemy. That is turning lead into gold, I guess.
Yeah. But yeah, she's taking notes about how to do that, and then Ginny's moved on to making pot holders look more professional. So it really is just an artist at their peak.
This is after burrito-style pillowcases were mentioned as well. And then there was a great character named Dump That triggered an urge in me to make some for our kids. My daughter Zoe, her husband Michael, and Gabe's son Kevin, and his wife Terry. Not appearing in this book.
Yeah, will not appear, but yeah, the Kevin heads out there are giving their applause. That we got this from the fanfic last time, but it did. She does, as an aside, say this: these young couples were starting to create their own holiday traditions, and the idea of handmade ornaments for their trees felt like it was right up my alley, so to speak. I'm just imagining. So Gabe's son. Oh, yeah. Gabe's son, Kevin, Miranda's son-in-law, Michael, just being like, oh, God, we're going to Cutler. Like, there's just going to be so many homemade quilts we're going to have to pretend like we're enthusiastic about for Christmas. God.
Now, son, when she gives you a candy ring, you have to pretend. Oh, I hate candy rings.
I told you, I am used to, I like going mudding in my 4x4, Dad. This is like, oh. Kevin shows up, wearing camo and just has to ooh and ah over a paper-pieced quilt.
This comes up a lot, but it's very funny. I headed back to the room for a quick rest and intended to spend the rest of the day and evening experiencing the ship. Tomorrow afternoon, we'd be home. Are you not in the middle of an active investigation?
She's getting a rest. She already fell asleep in a lounge chair earlier this day. I mean,
you're working for Janet Lowry of the FBI.
She's an 85-year-old man just falling asleep in the chair after the captain's dinner.
Wow.
So when she goes and takes the rest, she tries to call Lori, I think, who is giving a demonstration at 5 p.m., but Lori does not pick up. It goes straight to voice message. She's thinking the worst. But we then get this funny sentence as they kill time before Lori's presentation. We looked over a map of the ship to see what we might have missed. Besides a couple of restaurants, there was actually a small stationery/bookshop that I couldn't believe I hadn't visited, an interesting candy shop that Dee couldn't believe she'd missed, and we both realized there was a whole lounge show with dancers and singers after dinner. I like that that's something you realize. You know, you just turn your head slightly and there's dancers and singers doing their hot property routine, but it's just something you would never bother to take in before.
I was going to ask you that question. Are there anything that you can't believe you hadn't visited? I remember once, I think I may have mentioned this before, we were close to Field of Dreams. We were driving by. We were going
Dyersville, Iowa.
Yeah, a friend and he's like, we were headed back home, and, I'm headed back home to my wife and children. So he's like, come on, let's go see the Field of Dreams. It's like an hour and a half away. I'm like, off of our path. I'm like, I really want to get home, And years go by, and he's still like, remember the time we had a chance to visit the Field of Dreams?
Wow.
Like, you can do it any time, man. It's not...
Yeah, how long were you going to be awkwardly tossing a ball around on that field before you were like, how long do we actually have to keep doing this? This is...
Yeah. So I couldn't believe that we didn't visit that. So I guess that it is true. It does happen.
And just how interesting was this candy shop, Is it like these candies were actually pulled off the market in Latvia after a bunch of kids went blind, but you can still get them here. That's how sour they were.
A shipboard candy shop? Something she couldn't believe she hadn't visited.
And talk about something that would have been the coziest thing they would have done all damn book, is if they went to, a fudge shop that Cinnamon is maintaining here. It's like her second outpost that they go in there, and it's like, welcome to the fudge shop, gentlemen. You can have all the samples you would like.
By the way, they do have a plan for the missing Ginny and Lori. I think they're missing.
Yes.
No, one of them is missing.
Lori's missing. Ginny looks ill.
So they said, okay, well, let's stay calm. She has a demo group in about an hour. If she doesn't show up for that, we have a problem. She took a moment to compose herself. Okay, you're right. Maybe she'll show up and it'll all be fine. Is that how you handle missing persons cases? Just wait for them to show up for the quilting demonstration?
Yeah, take a little rest. Fingers crossed, hope for the best.
Mike's like giving them calls like, she's not going to show up for her quilting demonstration because I've got her right here with a gun to her head. Yeah. Well, we're still going to wait and see if she shows up.
Hey, should we open that suspiciously toe-shaped package that is addressed to us from ML or not? No, let's open it up after the quilted demonstration. If it's her toe, then we'll know it's hers. If we open it before the demonstration, it could be anyone's toe. So
it's dripping some red stuff. It must be candy from that shop I couldn't believe we hadn't visited.
Yes, it's a melted lollipop. We'll use it to do some red work.
So let's wait for her to show up. Okay.
And then I think what they try to do is, since Laurie's not returning their calls, they try to call Ginny after dinner and see if Ginny has heard from her. Ginny also won't answer the phone, and they determine based on that now Ginny and Laurie are both missing.
Well, it's phrased this way, which slightly irritates me. Okay. Laurie and Ginny are now both missing, comma, right? I don't know. You tell me. You're the author of the book.
Also, every instinct you've had in this entire thing has been correct about who the bad guy is, what he's doing at the slot machine. So just trust him from here on out, I would say. Although they do miss some big things going forward.
That's true.
Chapter 19 starts. It was now time to let Dee know about Lowry. So she fills Dee in about the fact that she's been in touch multiple times with an FBI agent who is also looking into the money launderer for the Cuban mafia. And so imagine if we were in, Nashville on a trip and there'd been something we'd been concerned about, like if there had been a figure who had threatened me or you, and then you told me after a couple days that, by the way, you had been working with the FBI on this case. You might be a little perturbed that was a detail you'd withheld until the moment presented itself days later, right?
I would think so. And also, she's so she's working directly with that woman, but she's also in touch with Tom Gibbons?
Tom Gibbons of the Miami FBI, the horny director.
The horny guy. Oh, yeah. Tommy G likes him some Miranda.
But Dee responds to that. She's not upset about this at all. She just said, wow, this is awesome. So that's, it's like they're just like sort of true crime fans in this. It's like a podcast that they're listening to here and be like, oh, wow, like I wonder if they're going to catch this guy after the episode. And it's like, this is something you could actively help not happen. It's not necessarily awesome.
So this is when they kick into gear, right? And they become the Cutler Quilting Crew -- 1.
Yeah, they have talked to the FBI director, and they have a plan, I guess, that's going to. They don't break off and schedule it just yet, but yeah, they decide they're going to involve anyone else into the all their other crew into
right. But they follow him. I think anyway. It gets to this. The music was starting in the big theater lounge, and we gravitated that way. Separating, we moved around the edges of the crowd, scanning for a tall, dark figure. When we came together, we shook our heads. So why no mention of what the entertainment was in the big theater lounge?
That's the thing they hadn't noticed. The theater, the lounge show with dancers and singers, probably. They still didn't notice it.
Seems like we could have got a lot out of that. I assume someone was singing at the Copacabana. Yeah.
Almost certainly.
Like, ladies don't pay attention to that, but I'm drawn magically to it.
They never noticed it was like Brian Wilson doing a performance of Smile in its entirety, and like Lauryn Hill, like all these reclusive people who were like you were there and you didn't even notice them. That's the last show they'll ever do. And then once they were trying to find him, I guess they do see him, and they're sort of like we're keeping an eye on you type of thing. Mm-hmm. But they say like, ooh, what a creep. Because, Dee gives a sort of stage shiver. And then they manage to throw immense amount of shade on the missing, potentially abused woman in this situation. She says, he doesn't know where she is, so I guess that's good. But oh, what a creep. How does anyone ever marry a guy like that? I hear you, Miranda says. A lot of times, guys like that come across as charming until they have you. It's truly sad how many women, especially those who don't attract a lot of guys, fall for the act. Bam! Take that, Laurie.
Who is this Laurie? Also,
I'll go Supreme, I
I
suppose.
guess so. My immediate thought, though, was how well do we really know this Gabe character? If that's what she... A lot of women fall for... Wait a minute.
Yeah, really. I mean...
Mr. Silver Fox and Jeopardy Man is not... what is your background exactly? I've never met your family.
I feel like ex-FBI is 100% a thing a scammer would say, to be like, well, I can't talk about my past because I'm ex-FBI, but, you know.
My bodyguard just got beat up. We're in danger. I need to use your American Express, babe. Certainly, Gabe.
Yeah, no, don't tell anyone about this because that's...
It'll only put me in more danger.
They'll come for your cat, Harry. Yeah, that's serious scammer talk. Well... but they managed to cap that off, put a cherry on top, if you will, of this whole day of missing women, threatening men with the ship's ice cream bar.
Oh, my God.
The place we found, let's find a place to sit and think. The place we found just happened to be the ice cream bar. That's like a Ouija board when you and your friends at the sleepover are trying to spell out of the name of the person you like. Yeah. Like, oh no, we just happened to be walking towards the ice cream bar. Oh, it's spelling out. You know, as we enjoyed our last hot fudge sundaes, we pondered in silence. Only the sound of ice cream being eaten filling the air. Some real ASMR for you there. I wish that was how McConaughey and Woody Harrelson had killed the time in between investigating the True Detective murders. Hey, Woody, yeah, you got some hot fudge dripping down your cheek there, Woody.
And speaking of cheeks, did he have scars on his face? He did that about 100 times. What I thought was, so they went to the ice cream bar. And, you know, one of them probably pretended, you know, like, no, nothing for me, thanks. And then the waiter came out and he's like, I brought 4 spoons. And they attacked him and beat him fully to death. That was the scene that was left out of the... but they assemble the team is the last word of that chapter.
Nice.
Yeah.
But when was this book written? Like, I mean, it was this, you know, within the past 8 years, right? Like maybe even sooner than that. The cruise ship has to have an elaborate system of security, right? I mean, part of it is a casino. That's where the guy has spent most of his time. They must know where he is at every single moment of this cruise, right?
I'm assuming, yes.
Just wanted to. I mean,
camera room, yes.
No reason to drill down that quickly. But
all right, so they chapter 20, they assemble the team.
Yeah, they're going to be working in shifts to monitor Mike Lambert's whereabouts. Even though there's one guy on board who's like, oh, no, he's here right now. I'll let you know if that changes. FBI. I'm in international waters, so I can't monitor him. It's technically illegal. I thought everything was legal here. Yeah, well, that's not how it works.
I did not know, by the way, again, if you can name all the people on the cruise.
I was going to challenge you.
Cutler Club. Because when Sarah shows up, I wish I'd brought more gear, Sarah replied thoughtfully. Sarah. I don't know who that is.
Sarah's the light packer of the group.
We all knew what she meant. Sarah's sister, Harriet, who we've met before, right, had put together quite a collection of stun guns and was not afraid to use them. So finally that Chekhov's stun gun does come up. So that's good.
Yeah, and I think that's part of the lore is that Sarah had, been stunned by her gun. At some point in time, but now she carries one because of that. So yeah, Sarah and Queenie are the first shift, and then Shelby and Judy. You could have thrown Judy at me, and I never would have picked that up either. No. After that, Dee and Miranda are going to take the 2 to 4 a.m. shift, monitoring the guy.
Yeah,
and Miranda is at some point in time manages to fall asleep, but then is stunned awake at 1:50 a.m. by Shelby's report that all is quiet.
Yeah, here's how I read it. See if this tracks with you. I did fall asleep somewhere around midnight and was stunned awake at 1:50 a.m. Oh my God, by what? What happened? By Shelby's report that all was quiet. All right. So the word.
What?
You've got to be shitting me. There are no problems. Everything is fine. Oh, okay. Man, that stunned me awake. She says earlier in her investigation or leading the shifts, she says it was highly doubtful that Lambert would act after the early sunrise. Why? Why is it highly doubtful?
Because that's my intuition, and they're always correct.
What do you know about him or about like boat transfers or money? I just didn't understand. Highly doubtful in my vast experience of guys with empty sewing machines leaving.
Yeah. As a librarian, that's something I'm aware of.
Yes.
They walk out. Of course, none of the other quilters are going to be the ones to encounter him. It's going to be Miranda and Dee. They walk around and get some coffee, and they eventually see his door open. They're just sort of out there monitoring it, and they follow him directly to the lifeboat area, and he starts tying off a rope to the railing. I could hear the dim sound of a throttling motorboat, so there's a boat down there waiting for him. We were only a few miles off Florida, the cruise ship holding in place until tomorrow. This was his best chance. Still, it was fascinating to watch him tie a rope to the duffel bag and toss it over. I mean, they were enthralled by a English paper piecing demonstration when they wet a piece of paper. So I guess watching someone tie a rope to a duffel bag also might be fascinating. It does sort of put in perspective how awe-inspiring those quilting demonstrations were, though.
It is pretty weird that so she says, like, tough guy, you know, like Schwarzenegger, not on my watch. I opened the door and ran smack into a fire extinguisher box. Geez, that hurt. I grunted. I don't know. It doesn't paint her in a very good light. I mean, I think it's supposed to be a bit of physical humor, but it is kind of a dangerous moment in the thing, right?
Absolutely. I mean, she's played up her fear of water, the falling off a cruise ship guy that the swimming instructor mentioned. So all those things have been set up here, and then she ends up just banging her head into a fire extinguisher like Chris Farley.
And head wounds bleed a lot. I have a short head wound story.
Oh, yeah, please.
When I was a kid.
Yes!
We were playing, what is it? It's not dodgeball, but you stand against a wall and then someone just has a ball and then you just have to scatter. And, if they
Sure, we called that wall ball.
Yeah, wall ball. We're playing that and, a little playground ball. Someone chucks it at me and I turn and run and I smack my head into, there's a little outcropping of brick. So I smack my head and it's just kind of like bump, like, oh, like, dang, you never want to show that you're hurt. And then I did that. And then I took my hand down. My vision started turning red. And all the kids went like, oh, and like pointed at me. And I was like, what? What's the big deal? And then they're like, teacher. And these two, the teacher runs over the playground monitors and they see my face and they both go, oh my God, get him to the nurse right away.
Was it like opened like a boxer cut, like where that taut skin opened up?
Yeah, it was just a little, but then, once you clean everything up, like, I was probably running, so I was like, my heart was beating. So, but It just, that was the pouring down the face thing that like shocked everyone. And then of course the nurse cleans it up. It's like, oh, that's barely anything at all.
And then your dad, told you to pluck some hair from the mule's tail and he'd stitch it up himself.
Yeah. Like, can I have a little numbing on that? Numbing?
No.
Whoa, pussy.
This is anti-Novocaine. It makes it worse. I do it recreationally. The guy also quips here. He says, hope you're a good swimmer, lady. He grabbed my arm and pulled me towards the rail. So he plans to murder her. He plans to throw her overboard as a murderer. But the next sentence is, I fought against my fear and slammed an elbow up and into his face. His response, ow, damn. Both periods after those. There's no exclamation mark. And then in case his day wasn't going bad enough, then Dee runs up. What does she do? Like, gives him a judo chop? Oh, no, she just pulls his thumb back, like you're playing Mercy with a sibling in the backseat of the car, and then pepper sprays him in the face.
Mm-hmm. Which you kind of expected a stun gun, but okay, I guess you have pepper spray.
Or bug spray. Remember there was bug spray she had in her bag that I was hoping would come up? That might actually blind you, Pepper spray, I guess, is designed to wear off. Who knows what's in the bug spray?
He screamed, and the tears started running down his face. Like, fully screamed. That's good pepper spray. That's the top quality stuff. Which I think she says she bought on this ship, right?
She did. I mean, it was next to that cute candy shop that she had been meaning to visit.
Yeah. an everlasting gobstopper and an 8-ounce can of bear spray, please. Of course, madam.
And then the FBI agent pops up from around the corner, being like, "I was about to do that. That was next on my list. But thank you too for taking care of that money launderer for me." And she also threatens the guy by saying, "Now, here's what we can do. You can let me cuff you quietly, or you might have an awful accident. We can see how long it takes the sharks to smell your blood in the water." I think she's got like a gun to his head as she says that too.
Yeah, that was sort of done like as a reveal thing, kind of, which I didn't understand that. Like, we don't know who this is, saying like, "All right, I think we're done here, Mike." And I just was hoping it was Shelby. Of course, it was the FBI.
Oh, right. But then that sort of makes you wonder, like, so is this a real FBI agent? Is that something they really do? Is they've got a guy subdued and they're saying like, "I'm going to blow your head off and then throw you into the water and sharks will eat you"?
I guess so. Like, let me switch off this body cam before I make these weird threats to you.
Is that what Gabe used to do? I mean, is Miranda used to it because Gabe told her all those things? I don't know.
And then, so they bring him into, I assume they handcuff him to a pipe like Leonardo DiCaprio in Titanic or whatever. But unable to stand it, Dee moved forward and used her scarf to wipe the pepper spray tears off his face. He scowled at her and she pinched his cheek. Oh, boy. I mean, that probably rarely happens after you pepper spray a perp, I'm guessing.
Mm-hmm.
But also, like, pinching the cheek thing, you know, like he snaps the pipe and just, like, takes the pipe and just wails it across. Don't ever pinch my cheek.
Yeah, I was hoping she was going to, like, then, you know, wring the pepper spray tears into her mouth as she maintains eye contact with him or something. But I feel like pepper spray, too, is sort of like, all right, I pepper sprayed you. I also probably ingested a healthy amount of that. So let me go. I got to get some water so my throat doesn't start constricting as well.
Yeah, it's not super localized. We, once in high school, I had a friend who became a night security guard. So they gave him you used to be able to have a license to have the high-end pepper spray.
Wow.
And he was a high school kid, and he was like a night watchman. So right before a class let out, he sprayed the heaters in this hallway where everyone converged. And so everyone like converged out of their classroom, went down the stairway, like teachers, everyone, and just collapsed in like giant piles of
chemical attack. Boys will be boys.
And everyone immediately knows, like, who's the only guy who is licensed to carry pepper spray? But the teacher yelled out before collapsing, which is still one of my favorite memories. Someone tear gassed the place. And then he clutched his throat and fell down the stairs.
Oh, wow. Remaining calm in the face of adversity in front of these children.
One of my favorite memories.
We're all going to die. Wow. And so then, 30 minutes later, as he's trying to be like, so in chapter 3 of Huck Finn, we'll be exploring Twain's use of
Did anyone
simile.
See that back there? Yeah, we were all there. Everyone in the entire school.
He's applying for a transfer, before it's even worn off. Like, I've lost them for good now.
You're on your own, kids.
Oh, man. That's too good.
Yeah.
So pepper spray, quipping, elbowing, kicking at junk, handcuffing to things. Dee's response to that whole thing, one more quip. She tells Miranda, "Hey, you still got some splaining to do."
Yeah, God.
Yeah. That's all. I guess that's all that warrants is your dismayed. Yeah, I wrote a dismayed.
But also, like, kids, huh? Right. That's literally like is it getting on towards 80 years old? That reference?
Yeah, I suppose so. I think it's fair to say the amount of kids reading this book is probably. I don't know if Amazon provides authors with demographics of readership, but
that's probably true.
It's not like that movie we just did that was meant for 10-year-olds and was referencing Schneider on One Day at a Time.
That's true. Oh, okay. So that's all I have for chapter 20.
Yeah, chapter 21 starts on the next morning at the last buffet breakfast. It was revealed that the FBI agent, Lowry, had been monitoring Miranda. She had put trackers on his stuff, one on the phone, and she was sort of like checking in on her location. I don't know if that was I think Tom had asked her to do that.
Yeah.
So which is, what you know about Tom, and the more you learn about Tom later. Tom asking Lowry to put a tracker on Miranda's phone is sort of like, and make sure I can access that tracker. Make sure I can access the the camera roll there.
I want to turn the camera on at my whim, but I don't want her to know the camera's on.
And this is because of the case, right, Tom? Yeah. The case. That's right. Yeah. Did you take any pictures in that hot tub?
Oh, that's right. We're doing a case. Yeah, the money laundering thing.
So that was an interesting thing to learn. But then they decide that ending our cruise on a quilting note felt right, and they I think they go to finish out a quilting bee, and this is where they start laying some stuff on pretty thick about quilters and their nature.
Yeah, this just does this ring true with anyone? And someone added that quilters are always people with big hearts. And so being a member of a group means that they will share their joys and their sorrows. Yeah. The ongoing theme of our little group was that quilters trust each other, and they are always good people. What?
I mean, I just sort of interpreted that to be just like, like a sort of Ernest Cline being like, you, the pudgy nerd reading this book, you're a good person for knowing that deep cut from the Silmarillion. This garbage that you value is important and good. And that's sort of just being like, if you're reading this book in a quilter, you're also a good person with a big heart. Like, bravo, your interests are good and the things you like are important to society.
We found his torture basement. We discovered that right before he killed these 13 people in cold blood, he was doing English paper piecing. No!
He soaked the paper in their blood. No, because I didn't know that was something you could do, not because of the twistedness of the whole thing. I just didn't know you could put the paper in the liquid until I saw the demonstration.
Gasp! Yeah.
Yeah, but it is laid on thick, and it does, pay off. I'm using quotes to describe that later in the book, I guess.
Yeah. And then I'll put this on the again, why do we even try moment. I think one thing we all agreed on was that being a member of a quilt group or guild is like taking on a second family, good and bad. She nodded firmly and sat down. That got her some laughs and some applause. Come on, man. Do we need to start marketing to quilting groups?
I think we probably need to do one of these things.
Easy, just like, let's just do a quilting short and then not even try,
Yeah, be the comedy quilter team and go on one of these cruises and, I don't know, let the red work flow in.
Our favorite phrase, this stuff writes itself. Like, we'll just actually try to not do anything and see if they give us laughs and some applause.
Speaking of laughing, this is how this one ends. It says, I don't really understand this, but they invited us back for the next quilting cruise, at which point Allison waved a brochure. Allison Hopewell, I believe. You're going to love this one, ladies. In October, we'll be quilt cruising to Alaska. There were appreciative gasps. And she's like, and then it says, what do you think, Miranda? Up for another cruise to Alaska? My mouth fell open. Then I sighed loud enough for our whole team to hear. That would be a hard no. As we say, leave them laughing when you go. Laughing?
I wanted to give that to you as a sonic challenge.
Just the mouth sighing loud enough?
Mouth fell open, sighing loud enough for a whole team to hear, and then saying, that would be a hard no, in a way that gets laughs. So I can set you up with it.
Sure.
So, what do you think, Miranda? Up for another cruise to Alaska?
That would be a hard no.
Well done.
Oh, I like that the quilters are talking about it like a social media influencer being like, live action Mufasa movie. That's a hard no from me.
Wow. Oh boy.
Well, so that is in theory where I was like, there's a lot of book left at this point, like 4 more chapters, I think. Mm-hmm. But they have ended the cruise, and we're left to discover what's going to happen when Tom goes through, or when Mike goes through security with Tom awaiting him. But before that, we did have another round of real or fanfic prepared for us. So why don't we tackle that? How is
that possible? Why is there no escape for me?
Let's do it.
Is this for me?
Yes, it's just for you. I'm going to read them for you. So yes, this round will be, as suggested by Jeff, who suggested this book, it's going to be potential real or fanfic from the entire rest of the Miranda Hathaway Adventure series. Okay. These could be from any of the books in the Quilting Guild Cozy Mystery series, or they could be fanfic that our listeners wrote from those series. So they had a blank slate of which book to pick from, which one to write, and I assume you're not familiar with any of these other titles, so they could have invented an entirely new plot point to write for these fanfics.
It could be from the Quilting Queen. It could be from the Baby Quilt. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, so if there are any mysterious half-sisters, that might be a tip-off, or it could be them having done their research. Exactly. Also, one important note about real or fanfic. In last episode, we both identified one of the passages as fanfic, and it was announced as real. It was the one where Gabe and Tom both get off the helicopter on the cruise ship, which, as you saw, did not happen in this book. That was identified as real during the reveal part. Mm-hmm. It was fanfic. It was a mistake. So both of our percentages were bumped up by that one. That's just important to note. Yes. That was written in by the person who submitted the fanfic and by Colette, who was reading them. It was an accident. We forgive her. So that's just important for anyone who thinks that we didn't do as well last time. We did. We're good. We're great at this.
Yeah.
So this is going to be either fanfic from the rest of the series or actual passages from the rest of the series. The fanfic is, of course, submitted by our beloved Patreon jackals at patreon.com/372 pages, some of which who just won 372 friendship bracelets that were made by our listener Janelle. They're very cool, and they will get some of those from making hilarious memes on the Patreon. Anyway, here are 5 potential passages. Ready?
Yes.
As I walked slowly towards the door of the shop, she opened it and said, "Hello, Miranda." I was a bit startled, and she just smiled as she gestured me inside and turned the small sign from "So Open" to "So Closed." SEW, open, SEW, closed.
Thank you.
It seemed that she had been waiting for me. I raised an eyebrow, and without turning, she responded, "There's a rumor going around. It was just a matter of time. Let's go have some tea and some of the chocolate chip cookies that Nan sent over. That girl is a miracle baker." It was so. Nan had come into our group as a quiet mouse of a thing. Then she brought a cake to our weekly quilt guild meeting. We have a snack break. After a bit of cajoling and encouragement, she started supplying a few items to our local restaurants, and her desserts sold out every day. She was a far better baker than a quilter, but we would never tell her that. She might stop coming and bringing treats. Miranda? I snapped out of my haze of cookiness and smiled. I was thinking about Nan and how she... Holy mother, this is the best chocolate chip cookie I've ever had.
Oh, I believe there's... I'm going to say it's fanfic only because isn't there already a mousy person?
I mean...
And there's already the cook who also bakes the pie that they buy. So I don't know. I'm just going to say fanfic.
Okay. Number 2. It was Thursday after work before Dee came over to the house. I was so relieved to see her that I hugged her long and hard. She laughed. "You okay?" She nodded, her curls bouncing. "I am. I think I've convinced these guys that I didn't do it." "Thank God," I answered. "I would have visited you in the big house." "I appreciate that," she grinned. "Now we need to get back to business." What on earth are you talking about? Well, I not only talked, I listened. The police are focusing on the murder as part of a bigger picture to do with interstate fraud and all that. I think this is not the first rodeo for Mrs. Houston, if you know what I mean. No, I really don't. But carry on.
Wow. Not the first rodeo. A sly reference to Tom Selleck's reverse mortgage ads? I don't know.
Ooh, man. Reverse mortgage fraud would be a great thing. The predatory loan of Cutler, PA.
Oh, boy. All right. I don't know. Fanfic.
Okay. Number 3. The man had a mullet, Oakley sunglasses, and was loudly playing Motley Crue from a speaker at his waist. He sang along loudly to the lyrics of the song. Don't worry, I said to Lucy. I'll talk to him. I approached the man. Sir, this is a library. I'm afraid I'll have to ask you to turn your music down. What's that, little lady? He said loudly in a gruff voice. I can't hear you over these rockin' tunes. I sighed. I'm sorry, sir, but if you can't keep it down, I'm going to have to escort you to the exit. I walked with him towards the front of the library. As soon as we were out of sight of the other patrons, he lowered his voice. Miranda Downing, he flashed a badge. I'm Undercover Agent Charles Taylor, FBI.
I mean, God, I want it to be true, but my instinct is telling me fanfic.
Okay. Number 4. I missed Gabe terribly. I missed Harry, too. I was sitting here in a crazy Portland coffee shop watching Jeopardy on mute, wishing we were together. Excuse me, young man, would it be possible to turn on the volume? I love Jeopardy. The waiter stopped and looked me dead in the eyes. I'm a woman, she said with an edge in her voice. Oh, I'm sorry. Never mind. Miranda sat rather stunned, staring into her coffee, embarrassed. Portland sure isn't Cutler, she said to herself. Just then her phone rang. Queenie popped up on the screen. Queenie, thank goodness. Are you ready to go? But the voice on the other end wasn't Queenie, and I could tell something was wrong. Then the voice on the other end said, Ma'am, I'm sorry to tell you this way, but your friend is dead. I heard myself scream.
Oh, wait a minute now. Heard myself. Oh, I don't know. Did I ever tell you the time that my dad misidentified
oh dear,
a bartender? And my dad, just like a working class guy comes into it, and I bring him to this is a bar that we go to, it's a little pretentious, but I think you'll like it. They'll make you something good. And bartender back to him, he's like, hey buddy. Hey pal. Turns around like, I'm a woman. And my dad goes, okay. He didn't apologize.
Jeez.
I was like, Dad, I come here a lot. Anyway, I'm going to say that's fanfic.
Fanfic. All right. So 4 for 4 on fanfic so far. Number 5. Of course, Tawny and Danny expected Shelby to babysit their 2 kids when they needed her. She also helped in the donut shop, but her customer service skills left something to be desired. She just stared at you until you gave your order. She took the payment and gave change in complete silence. Either Danny or Tawny would wave or say hello or thank you to try to bridge the gap, so to speak. I hadn't been in lately, but Gabe says she's getting better. The poor girl is not only somewhat lacking in personality, she isn't much of a looker either. Her dirty blonde hair hangs lank around her shoulders, her hazel eyes are dull, and her teeth could use some work. When she first appeared, we all felt awkward about Shelby being so clearly in need of attention, but she had family, and we couldn't easily think of a way to suggest a makeover.
Wow. I don't know. I mean, being sort of catty like that is pretty Miranda-ish. I'll say that's real.
Okay.
I think I'm going to get slaughtered in this. I have no idea.
All right. Let's see how you did. Yeah, I don't think it was good.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably all from books, right?
No. We did get 5 from Jeff, but we got a couple fanfics. So number 1 was the so open to so closed and eating the haze of cookiness. You said fanfic for that. That is real from the Baby Quilt. So I guess they just have a new dessert supplier in town. Maybe the current one got offed or something.
Come on.
by the evil sister. I snapped out of my haze of cookiness. Hey, that's a cozy line. So that's 0 for 1. From the number 2 is Not My First Rodeo and I'd Visit You in the Big House, Interstate Fraud. You said fanfic for that. That is from the Dollhouse Quilt, another real passage.
Oh, come on.
0 for 2. Number 3 is the FBI agents loudly listening to Motley Crue in the library. You said fanfic for that. That was fanfic. Submitted by Cameron. Carl Welzine, Dad Boner, is in their library in Cutler. Listening to the Crew. Number 4 was the Portland Waiter. You said fanfic for that. That is also fanfic. I only noticed reading this time that the perspective changes several times from first person to third person throughout this, which, in a lot of books would be a giveaway, but I don't think you could really assume that in this one. So that's 2 for 4. I didn't put down what you said in the last one. Real, I think, right? Correct?
Yeah, I said real.
Okay, so that was the just raking Shelby over the coals for being in need of a makeover and dull cow eyes, dirty hair. You said real for that, and it is real.
Okay.
From the Quilters' Christmas Surprises. There was several passages about them just crapping on Shelby from that book that they...
Shelby, your lank hair.
So 3 for 5 is good. Congratulations.
It's okay.
It's you take them where you can get them, but that'll raise your average. Let's see what happens when they get off the cruise ship.
Chapter 22.
Yeah.
I have a sonic challenge for you right away.
Oh, boy.
She gets off the gangplank, and Tom Gibbons.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, Tommy G's waiting for you, Miranda. He held the back passenger door for me, and I slipped in. Gabe was waiting inside, and a small sound simply came out of me. You have to do the small sound that Miranda does upon getting in a car.
It doesn't say her mouth.
That's true.
How about one of these? Oh,
nice. Okay.
That's nice and small, right?
That's small, yeah. That sound is small, I know. Squee. Nicely done. Okay, so the car pulls up. The FBI. He is not active, right? He is retired.
Gabe is not. I'm pretty sure he's retired FBI. Maybe he's still consulting or something.
Okay, well, I don't think I'm spoiled. At the end of the book, he's taking a trip somewhere, which seems to imply some sort of work trip. But okay, I thought he was retired.
I did too. That's why he's working the long arm all the time. He's not involved in the FBI. Who knows? But she's not retired, so I don't know. I also want to point out that when Tom greeted Miranda coming off the gangplank, what he said to her was, "Miranda, you look radiant."
Yes.
I'm just going to start greeting friends' wives with that and see how long that takes me to stop getting invited places.
That would be a good long con. Like you're forced to, you lose a bet and then you have to, at tonight's party where we're meeting all of the couples, that we all know from college and everything. You can only greet people by saying man, woman, everyone, like their babies, their children.
Caterer.
You look radiant. You
Cheese
have
puff.
to say that.
Right. Hey, did he tell you look radiant? Yeah, he did. Oh my God.
What is
want to
wrong
speak to
with him? Should we ask him to leave now, or should we wait till the cheese course?
Tom is driving them to the police building. I don't know why the FBI takes you to the police building. It seems like they would have their own buildings. FBI and police in works of fiction always tend to not get along. Like, this is an FBI investigation. We're taking over. Yeah. But Tom even raised the window between the seats so that Gabe and I could have our privacy. Do, 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 do. Oh, yeah. Lonely week.
Small sounds came out of her then, that's for sure.
And then she goes, and I think she gives a deposition to all these people, and they're like, where's Mike Lambert? Well, he's actually in another building. There's procedural stuff and paperwork for the Fort Lauderdale police. et cetera, et cetera. I'm taking him back to D.C. with me. And then they go to lunch, and she's particularly grateful it wasn't too dressy since she was in slacks and a top. Does Tom really seem like the kind of guy who's going to be picking a black tie, like 3 martini lunch kind of steakhouse or something?
And I assume all the women, wherever they go, are being like, "Ooh, who's that silver fox?"
I think Tom is more of like the broad down at the Tilted Kill's really into me. I go in there every Tuesday and Thursday. They got 50-cent wing days. I put away 25 of them.
But seriously, I think she likes me. Like, Tom does not like you.
No, she did. She took a picture with me last week. She doesn't do that for everybody.
But then I think Gabe says, "It's okay, honey, we do this," and then we go back home. Harry has a lot to say to you.
Oh, God.
Harry the cat.
You're correct.
I don't like this thing about that the cat is like anthropomorphized to an extent that makes me deeply uncomfortable.
Well, wasn't that one of the articles in the like cozy fiction magazine that someone sent in last week, like the roles of animals in cozy fiction? I think if you don't like animals that are either able to sort of telepathically communicate, or actually speak to their owners, this may not be the genre for you, because I think it's pretty much a requirement.
That is true.
At least this cat doesn't actually talk. She just intuits what he's saying to her.
Is there a cozy dolphin series? There must be, right?
Yeah, because dolphins can get cozy with you if you don't know what you're doing. You slip into a tank with a dolphin, you might not. Jeez. Ugh. But we also get some information here, because she's like, "Where is Lori?" Like she's got to be giving a deposition too. And he says, "Yeah, she made her statement and was released." And it says, Mike Lambert also looked surprised when he was confronted with the fact that the duffel bag contained around $300,000. And they're like, "What's going on?" And Tom says, "I suspect that Lori managed to squirrel with some of the laundered cash. Who's going to complain?" Well, I mean, it's not like you realize you got, hey, they were supposed to take off this extra 50 cents for ranch dipping sauce at the Tilted Kill because I only got blue cheese. Whatever, I'll not complain. It's the holidays. Yeah. The Cuban Mafia might be sort of interested that their bag was $300,000 short.
I didn't even understand that line. Who's going to complain? So wait. So was it supposed to be more than $300K, and then she squirreled it away in her sewing
correct.
machine?
I think they're like, "Hey, Lambert, like I don't know how the FBI would know how much he had, but they're like, there's $300,000 in there." And I think he's supposed to be like, "No, it was supposed to have $500,000 or something."
Oh, because I was going to say, like in a hollow sewing machine, it would be like, "I got out with $389 and a few dimes." Woo! That's really all it can fit in a hollow sewing machine.
Yeah, we probably should have looked into that, how much space this cash would take up in hundreds, I guess, but oh well. But they go on to say, Lori said her backup sewing machine was hollow, and Tom looked puzzled. No, it wasn't. So there's some curious things that are not panning out to be true in this final section that will eventually be explained.
Sort of explained, not very satisfactorily in my
not at all.
In my view. She says a thought began to form. Oh, here it is. An idea started to form, but before I could straighten it out to put it into words, Tom's phone chimed again. What was? Did you know what the idea that started to form was?
No,
at this
not
point?
at all. No.
Okay. I mean, this book is not, we're walking around going to candy shops and eating ice cream, and all of a sudden there's like, wait a minute, $300,000, empty sewing machine. Suddenly it's like The Sting, and you have to figure out, is this guy real? Is he playing a part? Is he like, what is this? And she's just like, wait a minute, I've got an idea. Well, I don't know what it is at this point anyway.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of these mysteries just sort of happen, and the characters do intuit things. Say what you will about Donald J. Sobel, at least there was a squirrel that went backwards down a tree, and then that's what you can point to for the evidence later. This just all sort of happens in real time with no Kaiser Soze moments of looking back to, Lori mentioning something in her red work talk that she's like, that was when she tipped us off, because no true red worker would red work in green type of thing.
That's right. She said the word candy ring, but she said it incorrectly. You're supposed to.
Right. Yeah, we were in the Bahamas, and in international waters, you refer to a candy ring as this regional term. And
That's
that was
right.
right. So, yeah, none of that happens, and you all just sort of get doled out as it happens later. But things do start moving pretty quickly here.
Yes.
So don't worry if you're not following along with them at the moment. Neither were we.
So that leads to chapter 23.
Yeah, which starts with a bang if you want to, literally, if you want to read it.
Sure. We were waiting at the gate when a local news break came on the TV in front of us. All caps. Gang suspect shot dead. I gasped. Gabe sighed. So it's like...
And me, just... big sip of that cocoa, baby, because that's a cozy sentence.
Oh.
Gang suspect shot dead in all caps. And Gabe gets this update from Tom. Lambert was shot while being transferred into Tom's custody. So Jack Ruby's just outside the Miami FBI's office. Tom wanted him out of there before there was any chance of the Jimenez gang finding out where he was. He shrugged. Looks like there was more than one mole and they weren't fast enough. So just an incredible abdication of duty by the Miami FBI here.
Amazing. The shrug also, like, I think, you know, when you're in front of the subcommittee, the congressional subcommittee, like, sir, let me ask you a question now, and I have 30 more seconds, please. What was your reaction when you heard that the gang suspect, I believe I have his name here, Mike Lambert, was shot down?
By the Jimenez gang.
What was your reaction, sir?
Well, I'm going to whisper to my lawyer.
You can go ahead
All right.
and say it. You can tell him.
I shrugged, Your Honor. What are you going to do?
He shrugged.
So I remembered this morning. There was a huge scandal in the town I grew up in this Vienna town. You know, a lot of government people work in Northern Virginia. There was a spy, like a Russian spy, who was from Vienna, and he, you know, got caught like he lived on the road that my family would drive into town every day on. National news all over the thing for months, just his trial and how this was happening under our noses. The Cuban mafia had at least two moles in the Miami FBI. Yeah. One of them still as of identified. It would be the biggest news story of the year down there.
Yeah, so Gabe, instead of like, or Tom, I mean, instead of like, oh my God, like blanching white and going, at the very least, I am in some deep, deep trouble here.
Oh yeah, I've lost my pension.
I've abdicated my duties in ways that
resigning in disgrace.
Yeah, hands in his pocket, jingling his change. Yeah, I guess you guys get killed, I guess. I don't know.
Especially when they find out. And sir, as you were working, as these moles were working right under your nose without your knowledge, you did what? I see this. You worked directly with a unvetted quilter under the direction of a retired out-of-state FBI agent. Sir, this is so illegal that we can't even begin to describe how much trouble you're in.
I'm reading the word. Is this correct? It is quilter, sir, not a quitter. That's someone who like left the agency and then returned under your like secret circumstance. It is just a quilter. Okay.
Right. Now, Quilter, this has to be Queenie. This was her FBI code name, correct? Because this just wasn't a uninvolved person. Because this Quilter Miranda you hired does seem like she was pretty fast and loose with just spreading all this information around to other members of the ship, which you did also not vet in your role as FBI director.
Yeah. Lawyers like, you really shouldn't shrug anymore.
They're calling you shrug. You know, the shrug trial is what the press has deemed this because of your constant act of seeming like you don't care about all the deaths that has happened under your watch.
Could I get a few extra seconds of my time to ask, is Miranda going to testify anytime soon? Mr. Gibbons, please.
Because she looks radiant when she's swearing to tell the whole truth and all the truth and nothing but the truth. I tell you what I do to her, I'd do the whole truth.
Mr. Gibbons, please do not lean into the microphone to say she looks radiant. I can't help it, man. That's the way.
It's the only way to make this voice sound this way is when you really lean in and talk quietly. Well, so yeah, the biggest scandal
everywhere.
Why did we issue the quilters a gavel? We've got to stop giving them official duties. They have not passed the security clearance. Well, yeah, the biggest scandal in Miami government history, at least since Scarface, I would say at least. But regardless of that, Miranda has traveled back to Cutler.
Yes.
And you don't like the cat talking. You probably don't like this either. We did determine it was her reincarnated husband, right?
Yes.
But he greets her by saying, he muttered something which she chose to interpret as, "Good to see you too, Mom."
Oh.
So off-putting to have the reincarnated husband as a cat in the first place, but then to be one of those guys who refers to their wife as mom or mother is not a good look, I would say.
Ooh, that's not good. Yeah. Did he do it sort of Ronald Reagan-y? Like, mother?
Mommy?
Is this the decaf? Wow, okay.
Well, at least it wasn't, at least it doesn't call her Meow Me like a Instagram cat would. That would be good.
Oh, boy.
Meow Me took me to visit Santa today, and I scratched him on the cheek because I am a cat, and I do not like traveling to visit people.
This is one of our favorite things on the thing is the time when a period of time is spelled out for us, and it seems to be unusually specific. Then he put his arms around me and held me for a good few minutes until I settled down. What do you peg that as? A good few minutes? I mean, over 4?
4 was where I was going to sort of draw the line.
Yeah, that's a good few minutes. 4 minutes of holding someone, standing there. I'm assuming she just put her bags down, right? Mm-hmm. She's like had her extra. She had her history magazines or whatever, and of course the candy that Dee gave her. So she set those on the floor. The cat's going like, "You're home. Hello, mommy." And then Gabe holds her for a full 4 minutes.
Oh, but and what was she settling down from? Oh, I guess she's crying because she saw the cat.
Yes,
but yeah, holding someone as a hug, arms around. Yeah, you start to get tired. You know, the awkwardness is one thing. Obviously, you don't want to hold someone for 4 minutes, but then just like, oh, I am 73. My arms are really tired. I got to ice my knees. And then she's not settled down yet, though.
When the time is mismatched, too, and then you go, how long is this going on? You know, kind of like someone holding your hand too long, like a salesman or something, like, I'm trying to break away. When am I able to break away from this? And then, talking the whole time, and all you can think is like, why is this handshake still going on?
His phone rings 2.5 minutes into it, and he's like, well, there is an active murder investigation. I probably should know. All right, she's not settled down.
He silences
keep holding her.
Takes a hand off her back, silences his phone really quick, and goes back to the hug.
Not settled down. Wow.
Ah, yes.
And then she goes to around to meet with some of the other people. She talks to Dee, who she just says, I do believe we're all safe now. I don't really know how you come to that conclusion, because you're dealing with as we've determined, wildly incompetent FBI. There is a gang out there who you've cost money. Like, you've cost them probably $250,000, I would say, at least. And they certainly know it was you because they have a mole who hasn't been caught yet. Witness relocation?
Yeah, you're not safe at all.
Taking up quilting in Butte, Montana or something is what you probably have to do.
Yeah. Where did they murder? Where did they shoot him dead?
Transferring between police stations. So not an easy place to get access to.
Yeah, exactly. You know, this is umbrella tip on the street kind of stuff here. Like, they're going to get to you, and they have a strong desire. They can't just let you go.
Right.
You know, that just like, we're the most ruthless gang out there. We can't, we obviously, we have to show our stuff, so we're going to do it.
Right.
She's
and the FBI
dead.
would certainly be like, don't talk to anyone about this before the trial, etc. And as they mentioned, we'll get to it. But so she breaks this down with Dee, and this is where we get the real twist of what happened here. They say that Tom checked all the stuff, Lori hitting it in the hollow sewing machine. They checked both for stuff. Neither of her machines were hollow. And Dee says, why? Why would she lie? Her eyes widened, and then she smiled. She switched machines with Ginny. And so they've determined that Ginny and Lori were in cahoots here. As you recall, Ginny is the one who's like, I think something's up with Lori. That's how she got Miranda into this in the first place.
Ginny feigned an illness during her demonstration, right? For some reason.
For some reason. Yes.
We're not sure what that was. By the way, Dee does mention Mark, who got called out earlier as an utter piece of garbage.
Oh, yeah. Mark's her husband?
Yeah, she shrugged, then grinned. Well, Mark is awfully nice to me after I've been away. Well, that's probably because Mark is just dragging the bars all over town.
Yes. Yeah. Mark is like, don't look at the recycling bin. That is so full of natural light cans. It's just embarrassing.
The sheets smell freshly laundered, Mark. Yeah, that's what I do when you're away. As I like to launder things, get ready for you.
But that's better than Gabe. Gabe was tidier than Mark, but somehow managed never to see the dust. And he doesn't do bathrooms. So, I mean, that sort of, I don't know. That changes my estimation of Gabe's. You can't have a silver fox that's just like, nah, I don't touch that. Like, gotta put on an apron and do some of this sometimes, Gabe. Come on.
Gabe's
Jeopardy and Lovin'.
Gabe's aim is terrible, too. Like, dude, wipe that up yourself. She says, we took a seat at the kitchen table, and I managed to scrape together soup and sandwiches for our lunch. Wow, that sounds so appetizing.
Yeah, they just got off the fantastic buffets of this cruise ship, and then she's like, I don't know. This American cheese is probably still good, right?
Yeah, it's on the edge, but I'm going to use it on your sandwich. She takes out her pastry scraper and goes to the stove and just gets the stuff off the top of it.
Hey, I'm a quilter. I'm not a cook. What do you want from me?
We used to do a thing in the restaurant industry as a joke, is like you would make we called it a floor sweep chimichanga. You sweep the kitchen floor and then you roll it up into a burrito and you fry it nicely and do everything else perfectly and then serve it to the other waiter who's like, it's your birthday, so we made a meal for you. And then they cut into it and then like a Band-Aid comes out.
God.
And the hair. Everything else is perfect. We made you a floor sweep chimmy, you idiot.
Floor sweep chimichanga does sound like a 70s comedian or something. Like yes. Johnny Carson introducing him and then calling him over to the couch after it's done. Floor sweep, get over here. But so they explain what happened here. It is all, I think, sort of intuited. Lambert was shot dead before they get him out of the facility. Tom was going to take him back to D.C. He wasn't sure he'd gotten the contact into the department that was tipping off the drug dealers. And Dee says, poor Lori. But then Miranda's like, And she says, you don't think. I actually texted Tom this morning. He said he had Lori watched all the way until she boarded her flight. She never even took her phone out of the bag. And they're like, maybe she bought a throwaway phone, never went near a store or kiosk, so they don't know what's going on. Because I guess they thought that Lori was going to place the call to the mafia, being like, they're taking him out now. Go, take the shot.
I didn't follow that. I'm like, okay. I didn't know what was going on. Poor Lori. Poor Lori because her husband got shot?
Yes. Her husband, that they were like, he's a dangerous man. He's yelling at her. You're hurting me. No, Mike. But I guess they were like, well, deep down, she still loved him or something.
Okay. Well, also, she's a super uggo.
Oh, true.
Right? And he was the best.
Right. He was the best she could hope to do.
Yeah.
So now she's been, widowed in her, 50s, 60s. Like, what hope is there? May as well follow him to the grave.
Oh, my God. Poor Lori.
So then she says, are you going to tell the rest of them about it? It's like, keep this to yourself, Dee. But then chapter 24, anything else in that one?
Well, I just have, we ate some, but not all of our lunch, and then Dee announced that she had to run a hair appointment. Yeah, because you scraped it off the bottom floor of your oven, slammed it onto a plate.
Yeah. Dee is being like, oh, I finally got diarrhea, not on the cruise ship. Irony much? Like, I gotta go, Miranda.
You're pouring hot water over our food. That's soup, right? It's not helping anything.
It's a sloppy steak.
Yes. Okay,
Well,
chapter 24.
Chapter 24 has a lot of talk about her going back to work at the library. That I was like, well, you know what? If you're really done with this story, we can just move along now. We don't have to keep reading. If you're, checking in on the new book orders and going through your meetings with Lucy at the library here.
It's just a day in the life at a public library with your assistant. That's all it is. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's like, how was your trip? Good. I don't want to talk about it. You take a vacation next. Oh, I will. And then she goes back home to dinner with Gabe.
And this, then, I'm going to guess that I sent you a thing. I said, I think I know the line of the whole series.
Okay.
And and it comes up right here. And so I'm going to read it. You tell me if it was the same one you thought or that people sent in. I said I think it's probably going to get sent in more than any other. Gabe was home and I smelled Italian when I came through the door. That's my... Did you mark that one down?
It was sent in quite a bit, yes.
Okay.
It wasn't what I expected, however.
Okay.
I forgot about it as I was going through these. But yeah, incredible.
A lot of ways to take that.
Mamma mia? Yeah, jeez.
I smelled Italian. What are you saying exactly?
Yeah, elaborate. Yeah.
Gabe smelled Italian. Anyway.
Yeah. Mark, did Dee think about that when she got home to Mark's house? Be like, why does it smell Italian in here, Mark? Is that why you wash the sheets?
Anyway, so she comes home and Gabe is cooking his famous lasagna.
Yeah, and she says, so what do you want to do after dinner? I hesitated. I know we don't do it often. And I was like, but could we go for a walk? Ah, damn it.
You look so radiant. All right, let's walk.
So they go around town, and she's sort of like in the mindset of the guy at the end of the Hurt Locker, where she's back in society, but like she's left society behind because of what she's seen.
Yeah, she's the hobbits going back to the Shire. Like, it's not for us anymore. She goes to the birdhouse manufacturer.
Oh my God, this was an incredible. Like, honestly, if you're done with the story, we can move. I've got other books I want to read here. It seemed like only a few months ago that this space was a dusty, failing shoe shop before we found out that Mr. Ryan hated that business but made wonderful little birdhouses. With my Gabe's support and encouragement, and now with the enthusiastic participation of several Ryan sons, the burgeoning business has its own website. Mr. Ryan's Birdhouses to get website.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, oh, he's employing several of his sons now? So like 3 of his sons have, taken a sabbatical from teaching or their law practice to come help him make businesses. How big is this going? Have they gotten them into restoration hardware? Are they in, major, the top shop on Etsy? No, they just have its own website. So these are just, his sons may not be among our best and brightest here.
I immediately was like, let's Shark Tank this one. What? Yeah. Come on now. What are the margins on birdhouses? Mr. Wonderful going, what's to stop me from making my own birdhouses in China at 1/3 the price and then having them shipped?
We hadn't thought of that. Oh, we're ruined.
Oh, we're destroyed.
Yeah. And
but we make custom ones that they're very, very expensive, and we make them of your house. Like, it's easy to do. I could just do it. I take a picture, have you send it in, and I could send it to China, and I'll have 30 birdhouses in 2 weeks. We hadn't thought of that.
One of those things. Oh, that sounds like a great idea. My parents would love that. And you look it up and just like, gah! $2,500? Okay, no. I can get one with a camera built into it on Amazon for $110. Good luck, man.
Oh, but my son, who has a master's degree in marketing, is the one who sawed the back of the birdhouse. I don't really care.
Yeah, and Squarespace will set this all up for you for probably like $150. Getting your own website is not an accomplishment the way it was in 1994.
Oh, anyway, yes, that's the birdhouse that she kind of stares at. I assume they're walking with knit scarves on, and it's lightly snowing, right?
Yeah, I think we're left to assume that. But I also think, Gabe is talking to her, about like, oh, look at that. They put up the frosty lights. Oh, they installed a new piano installation downtown so anyone can go and play. That'll be nice during the holidays. And all she hears is just the sound it makes when a bomb goes off in a movie. All you can hear is like the internal sort of flange sound. Like she doesn't even hear him talking. I took a look.
Move.
I took a look at the windows of a few shops that I hadn't been by for a while. I made a note to stop in during open hours. It's always nice to patronize local. The big mall just outside of town was great for major shopping or making a day of it. But in the smaller shops, you could stop and chat for a bit. Honestly, I have like shopping to do. I've got to get back to work. If you really are done telling the story, we can wrap it up.
But she goes into those shops, later when she stops by and makes a day of it, and just has that, what is it, the 1,000-yard stare or whatever, when she's looking past the people.
Yeah.
I'd like a pot pie and a salad, please. Like, Miranda, my eyes are here. You seem really far off. Like, oh, did I? Sorry. She hears the gunshot twice.
Yeah. She pays and leaves, and they come out like to deliver her the pot pie. And where did she go? Like, she just sort of wandered out into the street. Something's off. All right. But we are going to solve this mystery because it is a mystery. There is 2 short chapters left, and Tom comes to town. And in chapter 25, 6 days later. And Tom never disappoints. He's calling her radiant. He's being like, hey, if Gabe is ever out of the picture, you know who to hit up. He's bugging her phone. And then when he gets here, he does one of these. Miranda, Tom hugged me a few seconds too long until Gabe forcefully pushed him back.
Wow. Forcefully pushed him back.
Yeah.
Like, if this, gloves off, like, let's do this, man. Tom. Yeah. It's been a long time coming. Like, you don't want to mess with. I'm active duty, man. Like, I just retired. Let's make this happen outside.
Yeah.
Please, Tom. Gabe, no.
She's secretly enjoying it. Yeah. This is the only thing I can feel after that cruise ship incident anymore. And then they have some dinner. Gabe makes a lovely dinner of meatloaf and mashed potatoes with apple pies. In this instance, Gabe has wisely stopped by Sylvia's and picked up the food, then gone to the bakery for a fresh pie.
Yeah.
Just more Cutler little details there. But then Tom gathered his thoughts and says, I hardly know where to begin. I'm sure it had occurred to you that Virginia Hamilton was working with Laurie. I nodded. It sure had. Well, you could have looped us in here, your faithful readers at this point in time.
I would like to, and then he goes on, and more of this mystery is unwound, though I'm still going like, I didn't really care. I thought the book was over. So I thought we were looking at birdhouses, but whatever. So I'd like to recreate this moment. I'm Tom Gibbons. I'll be playing the part of Tom Gibbons, explaining what happened. We weren't paying much attention to what he said because we were expecting to interview him later on tape and in greater detail. At that point, he just seemed to be rambling. Then he was killed. That's exactly what it says.
Oh my God!
So I assume he's eating, or maybe he smells Italian, and he's eating his lasagna. I don't know, but took another drink before saying. Then he was killed. Isn't it your job to pay attention to the guy that you've apprehended?
Yeah, he's certainly given multiple statements about this already in terms of the internal investigation, the local media and stuff. But by the way, I did have to turn in my badge, Miranda. This is not an official FBI act at this point in time. Tom, are you playing footsie with me under the table?
The word disgrace was tossed around a lot in resign or will fire you was said quite a bit.
But then she describes the acts of Virginia Hamilton. She stayed on board until she watched Mike and Laurie off the ship. Then she went through customs carrying her 2 sewing machines. She hopped in a private car. Over the next hour, she made 3 quick stops at banks. Then she went onto the airport and checked her sewing machine and suitcase. At the airport, she bought a burner phone at a self-service kiosk, made 1 call, and threw it into a trash bin. Then she got on the plane to go home. And then Lori Lambert made a statement, and then Miranda says, "You followed the wrong woman." So they were following Lori, thinking she was involved. It was Ginny all along. And Tom offers this explanation, which is pretty incredible. He nodded. "We sure did. What we didn't know at the time is that Virginia and Lori are half-sisters." And Miranda says, "I did not see that coming." All right, that makes 2 of us. Why would we have seen that coming?
Didn't see it coming because it's not important. They were working together to launder money. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Wait, you can launder money with people who aren't distant long-lost relatives? Well, that changes everything.
What the hell does that have to do with anything? By the way, Tom is he's drinking a lot here.
Yes.
Well, I mean,
Wine.
I guess, yeah, once you're fired, I guess, like, who cares, right?
Oh, yeah, that's sort of the stereotypical thing. You go to a cheap motel, you grow some stubble, you drink, and then they come back when you need one last job.
And maybe does he have protection and a driver, or does he have to drive? Like, "Tom, please stay on our couch." "I'm fine." "You look radiant, by the way. Get over here." "No, I'm not going to touch you again."
Headline the next morning: Birdhouse store crashed into by drunk driver, business destroyed, 3 sons distraught. And he explains the half-sisters thing after drinking more wine. They have the same mother, different fathers. Their mother had some issues. When she had Virginia, the baby was adopted by a lovely family. 2 years later, when she had Lori, the child went into foster care. She didn't have much luck and was in 6 different homes before she turned 18 and aged out. Her life was, he swallowed, much more difficult than Virginia's. And she felt my throat thicken. How unfair did life have to be?
What? And I don't understand what that's supposed to mean.
I think she's just, she's the bad seed. She's the evil twin, I guess.
Well, this is exactly the kind of person that Miranda would go like, "Yeah, she was in foster care. You know why? Because her hair was flopping down. She had a greasy complexion. Bit of an uggo. Men mistreated her good. That's exactly what she deserved."
Now let me dunk my English paper, please. But then, so at this point, even Miranda is sort of like, well, this is all coming on fast and furious, and the readers are in over their heads. They're looking back at their notes to see like if they had missed anything. Ginny told me she had known Lori about 10 years, I think. Did she just lie? Tom shook his head. No, she actually didn't. And here's where it all, just the Kaiser Soze moment, it all falls into place. They never knew each other until they met at some quilting thing, got to talking, and did a bit of research. Then they figured it out. Moving on. Then they become criminal masterminds that work at laundering money together. They met at some quilting thing, got to talking, and did a bit of research. That's a hell of a yada, yada, yada there.
So when Lori realized she had gotten herself into trouble, she called her big sister. Sort of. I guess I've known you for 10 years. I'm sorry. I guess we have the same parents, whatever. But hey, could you hollow out a couple of your sewing machines and help with the Cuban mafia that my husband...
Oh, God, I thought you just wanted money. I'll give you $5,000 to never call me again.
I thought you were going to ask for my sunscreen. Yeah, sure. You can borrow my sunscreen.
And so, what do you think they talked about when they met at some quilting thing? They met at some quilting thing and were like, hey, did you by any chance go to foster care?
I guess. Yeah, but those things adoptions are private, aren't they? Like, oh, mine wasn't. It was an open adoption. I know exactly. Let me see. You look a lot like me. Like, all right.
Yes. So that was unexpected and nothing that if you read back you'd ever see coming. But hey, Virginia did look ill at her last demonstration, so I guess we should have expected it.
Was any of that satisfying you as you read it? I'm like, was I supposed to know any of this? Like, do I care?
No, Miranda takes it pretty much in stride. I was I was stunned because, at any point in time, if you told me that, Frodo and Merry were long half brothers at the end of Long Lost Half Brothers, I would be like, well, of course that's surprising because there was never anything that indicated it along the way. So it's surprising, but it's not good.
Right. Okay. So surprising meaning, yeah, I guess like she secretly was the host of a game show. Okay, you just didn't reveal the information. It's not. It doesn't have any relevance. There's one more thing. Yeah, and then it doesn't say he drank wine, but let's assume he's finishing the glass and glug 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 glug. We waited in silence. Lambert was killed on Sunday. All right. Okay. Remember, it was in your custody. He was killed, correct? Yeah. On Wednesday, Laurie filed a $1 million insurance claim on him. The quotes don't close for me there, so I'm assuming the rest of the book is Tom.
Isn't Tom's voice like this?
That's right. So, okay. All right. Did that have any surprise for you?
Well, it sort of has a surprise because Miranda goes on to say, like, she's pained about all this. You know, there was no funeral because Tom's aunt is taking care of his body. But Miranda says, it was all for nothing then, wasn't it? Lambert's dead, Laurie's rich, and the guys behind the scheme are carrying on exactly as before. But, like, well, I don't think Laurie's rich. They're just acting, you know, you're going to take a while to pay off this $1 million insurance. When they do, you're going to know where you're delivering it. The FBI seems to know exactly the scheme that Laurie and Virginia perpetrated, but they're sort of just like, what are you going to do? They get away scot-free. Like, the FBI's hands are tied here.
You seem to know everything about this. Surely you could bring this to a DA who would go like, looks like a pretty good case to me when someone files a $1 million claim.
Yeah, she stopped at 3 different banks. You know the phone she did. You saw her throw it away in a garbage can. Go track her. Why are you in Cutler, Pennsylvania, not trying to track these 2 women down?
And it says, so she's like, well, it was all for naught. And like, no, what your girls did was to give the agency a good bit of information that they can follow up on. Someone on that ship had to be aware of what Lambert was doing. The Atlantis in Nassau seems to be involved in the money laundering as well. The guy driving the cigarette boat, the boat registration and owner, there are more moles. Like, yeah. So the case is solved. This seems to be like, this is it, right?
Yeah.
Now there are midnight raids. Now there are, no-knock raids on all of these people, and it's all done.
But also, it's just like, oh, the Atlantis in Nassau was involved in money laundering. Might I tip you off that there are some bank accounts in the Grand Cayman Islands that might be doing shady stuff as well? How about you leave those islands to do their own offshore whatever thing and go arrest the 2 American citizens who you have an airtight case against for calling the Cuban mafia to order a hit, essentially. They laundered hundreds of thousands of dollars, and you know exactly how. Like, deal with the people in your own backyard.
So very disappointing, but this moment made me laugh. He opened his briefcase. This isn't much, but it's something. He handed me one of those, and so we all know what these are, one of those fancy certificates signed by the director of the FBI. It was awarded to the Cutler Quilt Guild number 1 in recognition of services provided to the agency. Yeah. So essentially, like, the FBI guy snaps open his briefcase and is like, here you go, kid, some wings since you're flying on my plane.
Yeah, it's the same certificate that me and Lauren got 25 years ago when we rode a mule in the Grand Canyon. And they gave you like one with a little embossed foil seal. It was clearly meant for a 9-year-old who had been scared to do it and did it. And we were like, no, we want those too. So the director of the FBI is like, what the absolute hell are you doing in my office, Tom? You've brought the biggest disgrace to this agency in decades, and you want me to emboss a certificate to these idiots? Like, we missed the biggest angry chief moment in the history of fiction there.
There's also, she looks at the certificate, it's been mimeographed, like, clearly was just like, in his writing, like, FBI head, with Tom's writing it. He just did it with his left hand. There's no way I'm bringing a certificate. I was fired immediately.
Right. It's like asking the Wizard of Oz, hey, what I needed was to get this murder off of my conscience because I'm waking up screaming, well, what you've needed all along is a certificate. That'll end those scream yourself awake nightmares. Heck, here you go. Not everyone has one of those on their wall. Oh, God. You could have at least given me a gift certificate to therapy. Like, this doesn't help at all.
So she slinks off. Harry, of course, comes out, snaps his suspenders, and goes, "I told you not to get involved with these guys," and then walked away. Did the shuffle off to Buffalo as he went into the other room. Taking a hint, Gabe played a taped Jeopardy, and the three of us engaged in a spirited contest. Oh, boy. Getting into a weird area now. You know what Jeopardy means, right?
Yeah, it's bizarre. And taped is Gabe already watched this one and playing along as if he doesn't? Like, it's strict Jeopardy. Every time I get one right, you got to take something off.
He's fast-forwarding past the thing that he taped before it. Like, forget about that. Like, wait, what did you just... What is that? Is that you? No. Hang on. There it is. There's Jeopardy.
Wild Things with Denise Richards? Why were you taping that, Gabe? I think...
A-B repeat on Wild Things? What is going on?
There's the three-way watch... that's the way... Watching Jeopardy with three people is taking this to a new level.
A spirited contest. All right.
But then we get to the last chapter. This is how it wraps up. Gabe and I walked in silence to Quilt Guild on Saturday. So it is her doing her Hurt Locker shuffle down to town. And the quilting, though, is still going off as if nothing has happened. It's their monthly charity project. We need to get right to it. I think you'll like this one. Today, we have a request from the hospital for bibs and burp pads for newborns. A chorus of oohs erupted. And it just sort of makes me think that whatever they said there was going to get a chorus of oohs if bibs and burp pads was something that they were going to ooh and ah over.
I also noted that when she went to get her attention, or their attention, here's the line. We started chatting and Queenie tinkled her scissors against the side of the table to get our attention. It feels like that's something that could easily be made to sound lascivious. Like, I'd like to tinkle her scissors, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, that was Mike Lambert, noir villain, saying, "Listen, doll, you want to get your scissors tinkled? You mess with me a bit more."
No, I don't, Mike. You're darn right you don't want to get your scissors tinkled. It happened to the last dame I was with.
And she essentially brings out the certificate, but she says, for reasons only Gabe knew, I didn't think I could bear looking at it every week. So it does. It haunts her. The specter will loom over all quilting she does in the future.
I still don't get the mystery of what was she expected to do. I guess so Ginny enlisted her, so she was part of the whole thing, so she just can't get over that.
Well, that might make more sense, is that she played a role in this, but no, she explains it here at the end.
Oh, okay.
It is because her faith in quilters has been shaken.
Yeah, that's the part that really does not ring true at all.
I planned on following... Well, remember, during the demonstration, she said, all quilters are good people.
Yes.
And that was Chekhov's nonsense right there is what that was. I planned on following that advice myself. I had learned some hard lessons this time around. My faith in all quilters being good people had been, well, dented, if not broken. But the Cutler quilters would know what I wanted them to know. I couldn't unknow these hard truths myself. I wish I could, but I'm not a misery loves company kind of person. There was a wonderful innocence in this quilt guild, and I'll be damned if someone like Laurie Lambert was going to destroy that. So she's going to internalize it and bury it deep and take it to the grave that not all quilters are good person, because she's looking around the room in silence. Queenie's tinkling her scissors. Nora's, tossing her thread up in the air and doing some intricate quilting. Someone's dunking English paper, but she just can't ruin him by telling him the truth about that all quilters are not good people as she sees this happy scene.
Yeah, like Shelby is, dipping the paper. This is what I learned on the cruise. Pretty good, huh, Miranda? Miranda's like, yeah, pats her absentmindedly on the head. You keep dipping that paper, Shelby. Keep dipping that paper.
You've got 3 inches of ash on that cigarette that you've just started smoking in here with a faraway look in your eye. What's the matter?
Too high. By the way, she has a Queenie impression.
Oh, I missed
Ladies, your attention, please, I said in an imitation of Queenie. Everyone chuckled, except Queenie, who looked puzzled. So I just wondered, do you have a Queenie impression? I have not formed one. I assume Margaret Dumont, but I don't know.
Ladies, please. And is it like, is Queenie puzzled because she's like a dog that heard a dog barking on TV, where she's like, I talk, but I not talk?
I don't sound like that.
Yeah, sorry, Queenie, I don't have enough to know about what you sound like at this point.
So that was supposed to be the through line, is that all quilters are good, but boy, I just can't. And so I trusted quilters. Have you ever heard that it's that lame trope that like all serial killers read Catcher in the Rye? Sure. They all have it on their shelf. It's like, well, I mean, all serial killers have The Firm, from this year. Right. It's like, yeah. It's a book that everybody has. It's a pretty basic book. Yeah. I think someone just crunched the numbers on it. It was like, I mean, yes, okay. If you want to look, every serial killer has saltine crackers in their. Yes. Okay, all right.
They've eaten beans.
Yes, this is the reverse of that. Like all quilters are just great people. You have no reason to believe that. That is a fallacy.
Yeah, all the quilters are probably not good people.
Yeah. And I mean, we've seen some of their behavior. The way you slam on other women for having
right
slightly hair that you don't
hair?
like,
yeah.
greasy, waxen complexions.
Yeah, cast that first stone, baby.
Yeah, if you keep wondering if all quilters are good people, and we know they're not, maybe you're not the good person. Do you ever think of that?
Wow, blowing minds here.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was what will haunt her to the grave. But she's also be haunted by what happens in the brief epilogue, which we can just read in the entirety here.
This is incredible.
I started going through the Monday mail at the library when a bright card caught my eye. It showed a beautiful island beach and two women holding up pretty drinks with umbrellas. The back read, "Thanks, Miranda, for everything. We couldn't have done it without you." It was unsigned. So it ends with the killers taunting the detectives at during one of those movie serial killer investigations.
And she, yes, it's Silence of the Lambs. He's down in some island stalking some guy, and calling back to Clarice. But so she immediately calls Tom Gibbons, like, "Hey, got this postcard,
evidence,
handwriting right on it." And Gibbons is like, "What? Hang on, Summer's coming up stripping next, so I don't want to miss her." Like, Tom? Yeah, I haven't worked there in about 3 months.
I got a lot of free time since I was, violently disbarred. I'm waiting my own trial, so.
This place is good. It has a buffet that starts at 10. I stayed here all night. Like, Tom. I bet you look radiant, baby.
Oh my God, he's been drinking and it's 9:30. But yeah, there's undoubtedly a postmark on there they could follow. It probably has the location, Key West, wish you were beer kind of thing. But I think this is where we're led to believe it enters, and they're just, they're like one of those Sopranos characters that's just looming out there for the rest of the series. I guess you never know when Laurie could be right around the corner. But my guess is we don't hear from them again.
And then you read it, and then you go right to the author's note, and you're like, what happened to Miranda's supposed sister? I thought I was going to read about that. And like, don't be concerned. I am very concerned. I just spent days reading this book thinking I was going to see Miranda's supposed sister. We thought she deserved a vacation first.
Yes. So, yeah, Miranda will come back in the next one, and her sister will be like, "Why do you have that glassy look in your eye, Miranda? It's as if you've seen some shit." Like, maybe I have.
Again, your ash is way too long. I don't even smoke. I don't know why I have this.
Oh, wow. Well, that ends the book. I mean, I guess the main question is, did you like it more or less than the Quilters Push Back? That's really where it falls in the canon, I would say.
This seemed like, remember that there was a musical group like Stars on 45?
Yes.
They would take snippets of songs and just put together. It's like, oh, I like that Beatles song, I guess. I like that one too. Like, but I don't like the whole thing put together.
They would just put a synthesizer like rap track behind it, like
yes, and then play all the songs. You're like, I generally have a favorable opinion of that song, and that sounds kind of like it, but I don't like this song. Stop doing that. That's what I feel like with this. It was like, you like this character? Would you like to see them go on a cruise? That's my feeling about it.
Yeah, I mean, it was good money laundering, but I think the reason we picked the Quilters Pushback initially was because it was like, well, let's see what these cozy, ladies have to do with, the opioid epidemic or fentanyl or whatever entering your community, and like they're going to be out of their league here. And I think they were more out of their league in that one with college students ODing and stuff. Yes. And I think that better suited it. And plus it took place in Cutler, so you got more things like more of the characters, more of the birdhouses. So while I did appreciate the twist and the gangland executions and the killers getting away scot-free, I do think the novelty of the first one made it more enjoyable for me.
Yeah, I mean, it was fun, no doubt about it. Watching quilters follow money laundering, and like you say, gangland executions in cozy books are always fun. So I'll take what I can get.
All right, well, let's read some emails before we get to our final dumb sentences of the year.
Look at that over there. Isn't that a pile of mail? It is time to read the mail.
All right, so these are emails from our beloved Patreon listeners over at patreon.com/372 pages. Go check it out. This first one is from Katie, who says she's a longtime listener, Patreon supporter, and first-time emailer because I felt compelled to inform you of a shocking discovery.
We need more. I love shocking discoveries on this show. We have a lot of them.
I know.
Especially in cozy world. Jeez.
Yeah. People do. Well, good thing you mentioned that cozy world. This says, the previous quilter book you read began with the wedding of Gabe's son on New Year's Day. And of course, Miranda and Gabe's own wedding took place on Valentine's Day. Remember, there was a dark web sketch about trying to book a Valentine's Day wedding venue like 3 weeks out, I think.
Yeah.
But what other noteworthy event occurred during January? Aside from all the college kids ODing, of course, it was the birth of Braxton Jonathan Bartlett, a.k.a. Big Baby Braxton.
Oh, right.
Who was mentioned. And she says, at the start of the Quilting Cruise, Braxton's mom, Brittany, tells Miranda that she can't go on the cruise with everyone because Braxton is only 11 months old and she doesn't want to be away from him for too long. Since we know the quilters push back that Braxton was born in January, the Quilting Cruise must be set 11 months later in December. And she says, considering that absolutely nothing Christmassy is ever mentioned in the Quilting Cruise, it's safe to assume the authors didn't try too hard to keep the timeline straight and just set this book in the generic summertime. So even though Connor semi-lamented that this book wasn't set during the cozy holiday season, it accidentally was. And she also says, largely unrelated additional discovery, the Quilting Cruise also mentions one of the elderly twins, Harriet, passed away last year, even though she was present at Miranda and Gabe's wedding on Valentine's Day shortly after the birth of Braxton, who again was born in January and is 11 months old. Either the Devlins took a dive into a quilting multiverse, or a ghost tased undercover operative Max Ryan Jr., or maybe Amazon self-published authors just don't tend to keep a lot of notes. That baby is the Rosetta Stone of the whole series in my mind.
So it's probably the sisters kicking the can down the road of like, do you have the story Bible for this? Like, no, I got to get to that, but we have 3 series going in once.
Yeah, 100%. It's non-canon. We have the non-canon quilting novels as well now. This one is from Tim. In both of these quilting novels, what a sentence to read about something we've brought into people's lives. In both of these quilting novels we've all read, these quilters don't actually fix the issue or solve the problem. In Pushers, one of the dealers kills himself. Adam, the high school teacher who is selling to the kids, absconds and is never found. And the main big bad, the New York City stockbroker who does his hair and wears an obviously fake mustache, is also never caught. I guess it's a theme in this series then. That's amazing. Right. Here, it seems like they get someone whose involvement in the scheme is somewhat unclear, killed by drug dealers. The two drivers of the scheme get away, and they get a commendation from the FBI. I think that's a succinct way to put it.
Yes.
Tim says, also, exactly what was the crime? Wouldn't the crime be failing to report the money to customs, which never seemed to happen? I think the sisters saw an episode of CSI or the movie Hell or High Water, where this is literally the plot. Didn't understand the mechanics of it, but included it anyway, not knowing better. It's like where no one knows the price of a banana in Arrested Development. Also, he adds this, an FBI employee reporting information to a drug cartel would be national news and is an incredible number of felonies. The fact that Tom and his supervisors just hand wave away what would undoubtedly ruin their careers is truly incredible. And he says, give Mike a hug from Tom Gibbons. I assume that hug lasts just a little too long.
4 minutes.
And then we have, this one from Trajan. I think I found a specific reference point for the Devlin's famous vilification of the interstate with all its drugs and quick access to neighboring states. I sometimes listen to old Forensic Files episodes while working on my computer, and in the episode Lasting Impression, the death they investigate is in Easton, Pennsylvania. The intro of this episode specifically describes how easy the town is to access from New York City thanks to the then new I-78, and how New York City drug dealers would go there to sell because it offers less competition. It could be just a Bader-Meinhof thing, but knowing what we know about the Devlins, it seems highly likely that at least one of them is a fan of Forensics Files, with the references in the author bio to Law and Order. So, it's... Perhaps that's where it all originated from.
I think it's true, and I told you it was off air that I was watching. There was like a true crime thing, and it was like stings in small town, and they talked to the local cop, and he's like, "Well, I blame the interstates going through here." So I was like, "Okay, it is a thing. I just had never heard it before."
Sure, yeah. All right. Well, thank you for emailing, everybody. We're going to read some dumb sentences now.
Dumb, 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 dumb. Dumb sentence of the week.
All right, the dumb sentences of the week from our beloved listeners. This first one from Scott. He said, as we say, leave them laughing when you go. And he just said, narrator's note, she did not. She also didn't end there either. Justin added, this is from Miranda's routine at the library when she returned home. After that... emails, I guess, and then mail.
Yes.
I kept repeating this aloud to myself, pausing, for too long, with each, oddly, placed, Justin added. Amanda sent in, my patience was straining to the breaking point as we had a lovely dinner of meatloaf and mashed potatoes with apple pie for dessert. And Amanda said, I love the juxtaposition here. It suggests she's able to lose it at any moment, but not enough to avoid getting distracted by the food. She says, furthermore, it's not really explained what she's frustrated about. Is it Tom's creep factor making her eager to wrap things up? Or is she waiting to find out details? Oh, who cares? There's pie. Which is a pretty good summation of this series in general. Who cares? There's pie. Wrong V submitted, then she sprayed pepper spray in his face. And Wrong V was also extremely upset because they mentioned carrying bug spray around, but then used a pepper spray we didn't know about, which I think she did reveal later. She bought at the magazine stand, I guess.
Yes.
Mike submitted, we gave her a warm round of appreciative applause, especially when she said that there were handouts covering the basics we could pick up on the way out. And he added, either she actually received several rounds of applause, or she got one long round of applause, talked over it while it was happening, and the clapping volume ebbed and flowed depending on what she was saying. Especially when she said that there were handouts covering the basics. Skylar, Heather, and Cynthia wrote in, I thought this is what your funny one you had pinpointed was going to be. As we enjoyed our last hot fudge sundaes, we pondered in silence, only the sound of ice cream being eaten filling the air. Khan submitted, what kind of world did we live in where it seemed like the bad guys were winning? And that, because that was her takeaway to learning that quilters were not all good people. Cameron submitted, so does she think about that anytime there's a crime, or did this one just hit particularly close to home? Because, we all know there's plenty of bad guys. I don't know, whatever.
I was just telling someone the other day about the trope of the small town thing. Like, we leave our doors unlocked and this place is safe as can be. And Now to learn that there's a guy who, trapped someone in the basement for 20 years. It's like, it's a small, it only means that it's a smaller sample size. Like, people aren't different or better in small towns. They're horrible. Like, they're the same as everyone else, in other words.
No, they
like,
make birdhouses, and they enlist their sons. It's
what a weird trope.
It's fine. Everything is fine. Now to quilt in silence as I swallow this dismay at the world and turn into Travis Bickle in 5 years. Cameron submitted, the ongoing theme of our little group was that quilters trust each other, and they are always good people. And he said the aggrandizing of quilters in the final part of this book is incredible. Mm-hmm. But I think it's like we said, like if you're reading this book, you're likely a quilter or an aspiring quilter. So it is nice to be told you're a good person. Most books don't really take that attitude towards their audience. Jacob
do you read cozy books to be reinforced on your like? Is there a series about like comedy writers? Don't worry, comedy writers.
Yeah.
No comedy writer would ever do anything bad. Yeah. I remember the early days of doing stand-up when I worked with these, just like everyone doing stand-up. I was like, if tomorrow it's like he mounted a bell tower and like started shooting, I'd be like, yeah, that tracks. I have no problem with it.
Probably should have alerted. Yeah, the opposite of he was quiet and kept to himself, yes. The neighbor's saying.
Yeah, that guy seemed pretty unhinged. He's a weirdo.
Yeah. No, it's a Stuart Smalley telling comedy writers that they're good enough would not be a believable series, I don't think. All we do is try to make people laugh. And then anyway. Jacob submitted Miranda sighed and said, wait a minute, I thought Miranda was the narrator. Did this suddenly switch to third person? So maybe that fanfic where the point of view changed multiple times was not out of line.
That's what it was based on. Got it. Okay.
Daniel submitted, if he was half as smart as he thought he was, he'd want to be visible if he thought Laurie was missing. And Daniel said, that's 5 he's in a single sentence. I wonder if they were inspired by Bilbo's confusing speech from the Cozy Classic Fellowship of the Ring. I don't know what speech he's talking about. I thought maybe you would.
I think it's the one where he says, I don't know half of you half as much as I'd like, and I like half of you half as much as, or something like that. He intentionally makes it. It's one of those insults that you can't quite figure out.
Right. Bob Crane's patriotism.
Yes.
Alejandro submitted, Gabe was home and I smelled Italian when I came in through the door. He might be the only one that wrote in about that, but that's crazy.
Oh, I thought you said people did. Okay. So he's the only one. All right. I just want to highlight that again. Let me read that. Gabe was home and I smelled Italian when I came through the door. I just want to make sure we have the emphasis of the right words there. Okay.
He did. He said, the fact that Italian food is not stated until later makes me feel like either Miranda smelled like an Italian or perhaps the Super Mario Brothers stopped by for some brewskis with Gabe while she was at work.
That's what I'm saying.
Andrew submitted, unable to stand it, Dee moved forward and used her scarf to wipe the pepper spray tears off his face. Mark submitted, this is a good one, from the About the Author section on Mary Devlin Lynch. She's a notorious multitasker, combining quilting and writing with reading 2 or 3 books all at the same time. And Mark said, I am confident she does not, in fact, do all of these at the same time. Harrison submitted, in case you are wondering what happened to the appearance of Miranda's supposed sister at the epilogue of The Quilting Queen, don't be concerned. And they said, I really wish superheroes movies would say that. Don't worry, that random guy is coming back, just not yet. Brian submitted, belatedly, I realized I should have taken notes all week on the things that appealed to me. And said, with all the money laundering, criminal activity, and whatnot going on, I suppose she could be forgiven on not taking notes about the red work. Nathan submitted, my mouth fell open, then I sighed loud enough for our whole team to hear. He said the only dumb thing this sentence does is rip off Norman Krasner, giving him a And then Craig and Janelle both submitted, still, it was fascinating to watch him tie a rope to the duffel and toss it over. Oh, wait, one more. Hayden submitted this one, which he didn't touch on. We alluded to, but we didn't actually read. A couple of purchases, History Magazines and Licorice later. History Magazines and Licorice in parentheses. It was dinner time, our last dinner with table friends. And he said, I thought the Devlin sisters panicked, thinking maybe they had written Miranda as being cool, so they tried to really hammer home how boring she was. history magazines.
History magazines and licorice. That would be a thing
Cleopatra.
that I would come home with, and then Bridget would be like, You went out? Did you take the car? Where'd you go? Like, nah, nothing. I'm like, what? No, what's in the bag? Let me see. Like, all right, it's history magazines and licorice, okay? What did you do?
I
Why
learned
did
it
I
from
marry
watching
you?
you. Yeah. She caught me sitting in my car in the garage reading history magazines and eating licorice. Now she's leaving me. She said it was worse than if she'd caught me at the bar when I said I was going to work. Oh.
I started hanging out with Tom Gibbons, okay?
John Quincy Adams, he's just like us. It's him, just like, with a gut, like carrying his groceries awkwardly outside of
Wearing sweats and Crocs.
Oh, my only one, I just had ending our cruise on a quilting note felt right. It's like, well, yeah, it was a quilting cruise that you quilted for like maybe 8 paragraphs in the whole thing.
Oh, that's good. Well,
I assume you're sticking with Italian.
I'm sticking with mine.
Good.
I'm going to throw away all my copy paper once this is over in shame because I have a bunch of it. I think I just stocked up on copy paper, but I can't make, what is it, English pieces?
English paper piecing?
English paper piecing.
Well, put it in water. That's the key to the whole thing.
I didn't. What?
Rub some rigatoni under your arms and then put the paper in water. You'll smell like Italian as you piece your paper together.
All right.
All right.
Well, that's the end of it. It was a good reading. It was fun.
Yeah, certainly. Cozy in spirit, if not actuality, I suppose. Knowing it was Christmas the whole time made it that much cozier in retrospect.
We don't need to go through everything, but do you have a quick rank of it? Like, put it above?
Oh,
or below,
yeah. I mean, in the tier, it's certainly middle of the pack. I think that it's above the books that we loathe. I still think it was probably lower than the Quilters Pushed Back, so I would put it probably right under there in the canon. Not as full as delights as other things, but I wish there had been more murderers that get away scot-free with things, because I think that's as cozy as these books get. What about you?
I think I'd put it below, again, Christmas River? Was that what it was? Yeah, I kind of put it below that. That was longer, but that was just like leaned into the cozy in a way that we really enjoyed.
Yeah, I think that, reading, the next time we read one of these, we got to pick one that's, essentially a print Hallmark movie with those tropes. The Lacey Chabert character running some sort of bakery, the brawny guy she falls in love with, like literally the brawny paper towel guy she falls in love with.
Yeah.
And then, then the hideous murders that get involved in there as well. So,
yeah.
And it should be at Christmas.
You didn't get all the way through. I just wanted, this will wrap up with us. I swear this is it. But Hot Santa, right? Is that what it's called? Hot
Frosty?
Hot Frosty. Sorry, not Hot Santa. Hot Santa is a totally different movie.
Probably exists.
That I have taped and A/B repeated many times. Hot Frosty.
They keep saying that phrase. That must be something from their past. Like,
Tobolowsky. Stephen Tobolowsky.
Sure.
Is in it, right?
Ned Ryerson from Groundhog
Ned Ryerson. They already had a follow-up to it, I think.
No.
Or maybe he was in a different one. Oh, he was in one. No, he was in one that had the same cast, but a different story. But anyway, Bridget saw one, and she was like, I just cannot get through these. There was one with the guy who played Ned Ryerson, like doing like lawn ornaments. So it wasn't Hot Frosty. It was a different series. Anyway, she goes, I snapped it off in just utter disgust. And I was like, oh, do you want to hear the rest of that? Because what happens is, but anyway, he just like repeats phrases from Groundhog Day. It's just so shameful. It's like, oh, Steve.
Bing, like kind of thing? Like,
yes, exactly.
Watch the first step?
Yeah, I think exactly that. Just like any of his lines, all of them get sprinkled throughout.
Oh, my God.
It's just like, does the, raise the eyebrow to the camera kind of a thing. Like, oh, God. But it just made me laugh that Bridget was like utterly disgusted. Like it was at I was getting my hair done or something and like, please shut this off. I was like, oh, I know that one. Yeah, I saw that all the way through.
Yes. Allow me to invite you to wallow in this filth with me. Because I treasure it. It makes me one.
Anyway, thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
That's the cozy verse for this year. So long.
Thank you for supporting us this year. It's been fun. More filth coming next year to wallow in.